Metaphysics is going to have to be the quote-unquote religion of tomorrow. If it isn't, you're fucked. Totally and absolutely.
Now, how fire is Dolemite as God? Seriously.
Theory.
Seriously. I mean, that has to be the best casting of God since Morgan Freeman.
I think it blows Morgan Freeman out of the water.
Oh yeah, yeah. Just the potential of having the voice of Dolemite as God overseeing and like, talking through Bible stories and giving his opinions in the background and shit. I can just hear well, I don't know if you saw this because you said the only one you saw was Human Tornado, right?
Yeah, and I was very high. All I
Okay.
remember there being like some kind of Jack in the Box and just naked women coming out of the box.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's like when they have like a stage show.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
yeah,
it was
yeah.
all a blur, and I just remember there was one line like "Take this, honky," and like then gunfire.
Yeah, that's pretty much his entire catalog right there. So there's a scene in Dolomite in the actual movie called Dolomite where he's in jail and the warden wants to see him. And he does this in a few movies, like in some of his stand up and shit too. He does like this long run on insult. And he's like, you know, business born insecure, rat soup eating motherfucker. Like he'll add so many different expletives and descriptions in there. It's hilarious. But I can just see God Dolomite is God looking down in the Garden of Eden. You know business, born insecure, apple eating motherfucker. I told you not to eat. It's so much to mine from to make Dolomite God. This shit needs to happen, It
Dude,
has to happen.
oh Dolomite for the Old Testament all day.
Oh my gosh, dude. There's no better voice as God in the Old Testament than Dolomite.
Listen,
There's nobody.
nobody.
God, I love it. Oh, you know what? Let me start this off right because I felt filthy after we ended our last episode. It felt so dirty, but so
Because the
not
XXFL,
just all of it, just everything, just the
really.
Christy Mac, fucking just
I
every.
finally got to the point where I was willing to just accept this. I was the one feeling horrible all the time. I'm
Dude.
finally okay with it. Now you get a conscience.
No, I just want to
It's
say,
awful.
no, just I just want to say that for everything that we came up with in the last episode, I want to start this one off by apologizing for not being sorry because the shit was hilarious. As horrible and problematic as it all was, it was fucking hilarious. And I appreciate being in a space where you can laugh at that kind of shit, knowing like, because I know I don't find any humor in an actual person being physically abused by their partner. I know that's not funny. I completely understand why that's not funny. But in that conversation, somehow we mined down through all the human suffering and found comedy somewhere underneath there. And I feel like I feel like, especially these days with the way society is building itself, I feel like that's a true, like that's a human talent. I get how comedians are defending themselves. Finally, I'm starting to understand it a little bit. Sometimes, some shit I don't think I'll ever be. I've never heard a funny rape joke. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Like people who write a rape joke purposely for it to be a rape joke. I've never heard a good one. So I can't say, oh, I get how, blah, blah. I feel like that's just purposely trying to trigger people. And maybe they're attempting to do the same thing. Maybe they're really trying to dig through all of the worst shit about humans and what we do to each other and just give you a few seconds to laugh at it, even though you're going to spend the rest of your life knowing that this is some horrible shit that takes place in the world, but at least for 15 to 30 seconds, you can laugh at it. And I get that. But I haven't heard a funny rape joke. But all of the material about Christy Mack's Lifetime movie is fucking gold. It's fucking gold. I'm sorry. I mean, I can't. There's nothing else I can say. It's too good. I mean, I think not without my liver, maybe a little that might be pushing it a little bit. A
Listen,
little
I
bit.
got it. This is why I don't even have a conscience about it. My girl was like, "Yo, how is that not her fault? She knew what kind of dude she was dealing with." I was
Mm.
like, all right, you're completely thugged out.
Yeah,
Every
right. 'Cause
time I think we've hit the ceiling of your thuggery, you blow my mind. I was like, really? She's like, I'm not trying to victim shame, but come on. Every girl knows when you're dealing with that type of dude how you got to move. Like, come on. You know who you were dealing with. I was like, oh, wow, okay.
coming from a woman, it's hard to combat that. Like she is speaking from within the female experience. And that's something that most of us really don't have a clue about. You know what I'm saying?
And she's taken a few punches. So I mean,
Okay, well,
I
I'll disavow. I'm gonna let that go.
no, not for me.
Oh,
Not
okay, okay.
yeah,
'Cause
that,
you said it like, oh, trust me, I know.
and I know she can take a
She can
punch.
take a punch. Trust me. Oh my gosh, dude. Yeah,
No,
all that
but
shit.
that's all I'm saying. If a girl could look at it like that and say it in a way like, of course she's not celebrating the misery that that person had to endure. Of course she's not making excuses for the dude, but she's looking at it from a perspective of if I was in that position, I would have known to move way differently because
Right.
I knew who I was dealing with. So if a girl can say that from her perspective and life experience, I'm not gonna feel any kind of bad about it because obviously, Daniel Tosh has done some pretty clever rape jokes. I got to give it to him. So I'm not gonna say it's never, you know, it's never funny. The reality is never funny, and
Right.
and anybody that's that ridiculously out of their mind, like just think about any scenario with anybody you know, right? And they would have to have Down syndrome or something. There's no scenario where you're like, dude, what's happening? Yeah, man, Carrie's boyfriend, he like beat her half to death. like,
That's
who's,
hilarious.
who's just has an uncontrollable burst of.
Yeah,
Obviously, it's
yeah.
not funny. It's horrible.
Right.
It's horrible. Coming up with the cartoonish absurdity around a very horrific situation. Like you think they were in Auschwitz and nobody had jokes. They were just like,
Wow,
yeah,
that's rough. This is getting dark, bro.
sorry.
Yeah, we're talking about stand-up comedians in Auschwitz right now. This is going bad already.
all I'm saying is that there are certain cultures and certain predicaments where gallows humor is something that organically developed. And I don't think all cultures embrace it. So for some people it's very shocking. For some people it's very superstitious. Like don't even talk about that. Don't
Right.
even,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? They think if you speak it then it's going to happen to them. Right? So everybody has a different take on it, but it's so dishonest to think that anybody talking about that subject matter and joking on it isn't taking the reality of it seriously. The reality of it is horrific.
Right.
But that doesn't mean humor based on that reality isn't kind of funny. It isn't and we pick and choose what we get outraged about. Nobody's outraged about dudes getting raped in prison humor. Like that is
Oh,
the
yeah.
continuous, like even on a Full House, NBC, wholesome family comedy. Oh, you going to prison? Oh, you know what's gonna happen to you in prison? It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It's something you deserve. It's part of your experience when you go there. It's like, oh, I hope he gets what he got coming. Like, and no matter what, like you could fucking drunk drive and hurt somebody, and they'll be like, yeah, I hope he gets raped in prison. It's like, whoa, how do we fucking, yeah, he made a bad decision, but that does that mean you have to be raped, buddy? I mean, that's kind of hardcore. It is crazy how we use these things in society. They kind of slide across the outrage scale to acceptability scale depending on who the victim is, what's the context of the conversation. Like, so yeah, that's rough. That's rough, man. And like I said, it's something that's also connected to how women have this experience in society that men don't really that we can't really understand and get the full spectrum of because I've had a conversation with somebody recently where they were talking about how outraged you could be if a gay dude hit on you. And my opinion was you shouldn't be outraged at all. Like, not, I mean, of course, if it's a straight up respectful, if a dude just try to holler at you, I don't think you should automatically get irate and try to beat the motherfucker up. I mean, if he's gay and he likes you, then what? I mean, what harm is there really in him being like, "Hey, how you doing? What's your name?" and shit? You could be like, "Hey, bro, chill." I don't fucking. That's totally acceptable. But anger, it's like, oh, why should this guy be trying to do this? And it's like he has no way of knowing that you don't also want to have sex with him. So you can't be mad at him for making an assumption because men make those assumptions about women all the time. You don't know if she wants to bang you, but you'll go for it, right? You'll shoot your shot, as they say. And I think if you can assume that I just want to find out if I can bang this person, then I don't understand what lines you can draw in society to where it's not acceptable. Because women could be like, oh, a short dude should never walk up. That should be an outrage. He knows I don't want to bang him. Like, how do you know? How does anybody know who wants to bang anybody these days?
And if she doesn't have the physical capacity to beat you up, she should be able to shoot you once in the knee.
Just
That
kneecap
that would be
for,
the trade-off. Like,
for
how
assuming
dare
that you're on the
you?
level.
You short motherfucker. I'm about to take 3 inches off of you. How
Kneecap,
dare
man.
you?
How you go now? He's gonna be short with a limp. Fucked up, bro. You
I
gotta
don't
let
know.
someone live some kind
I
of way.
I've been hit on by gay dudes in my prime. It's the most flattering thing. It's the best compliment you could get. That lets you know that you're dressing right, you're doing your hair right, you're doing everything that you can to be the best physical you. I think the only, and I don't want to speculate, I guess it would be different for everybody, but I would think the only reason you would get so mad that you would feel like you would need to be violent is there's some kind of insecurity where you feel like everybody's looking at you. Now everybody's going to think you're gay. You know what I mean? Like if you don't have anything that would kind of make you that would be any kind of insecurity about your masculinity, I don't see how you just couldn't take it as a compliment, but I don't
Yeah,
know. I'm
yeah,
kind of gay, so I don't know.
yeah. You be gay joking and shit.
Or constantly,
Gay
constantly.
joking. I'm telling you, the first time I heard that phrase, I had never heard those two words used, those that kind of compound word used like that. Gay joking. Like this is a category of a specific type of joke. But once you said it, it made perfect sense because I knew a bunch of shit that could be considered gay joking. And all done perpetrated by and to white males, by the way.
Oh, absolutely. It does not go over well in the black community more often than not. Not trying to pigeonhole anyone. We're all
Yeah.
individuals. I'm sure there's some black guys that I can't wait to get some funny ass gay jokes in. But
No.
for
Yeah.
the for the most
No.
part, yes, it tends to be the within the realm of translucidness. But
Yeah.
it is hilarious. I stand by the
Yeah, I have
hilarious.
to say it is funny. It's very hilarious to know that it takes place and possibly even to see it take place, but I would never want to be involved in gay joking.
Well,
Like
there I have my lines because
seeing
I'm
Jackass, fucking what's that guy's
right.
name? Seeing one of those, slap Steve O in the balls or something like that.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the end of a friendship. If we just hanging out somewhere talking and you slap me in the balls, I don't know if I ever want to see you again.
I've had my ball slapped. It does not feel good. It does catch you off guard.
Yeah, I
It's not
can't.
fun. And I have my limits. Like I'm probably the most militant black guy of white guy gay joking. Like as far as my limits aren't as vast as you would think. Like, and I think there may be a difference between gay joking and frat boy gay joking. Like when you start getting to the point where we're taking pictures of somebody's balls on your chin or balls on
Oh
your eye
yeah,
sacs and
that's just gay. That's not even
right,
joking.
that's calling them and saying hey pumpkin or hey sweetie, something like that. Like okay, yeah, that's funny, but once it gets into the realm of like there's actually genitals out, it's not funny anymore.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
y'all
not.
just need to go ahead and
That's where I
you know,
feel uncomfortable.
just go ahead, just cut to the chase, like we said with the NFL, triple XL, triple XFL. Just cut to the chase. Listen, we know where this is going, so let's just get to it. That's awesome. Triple XFL is the next big franchise too. But I do have like I said, we got a guest for this week. One of the
Yay.
homies makes a lot of music out here locally, and I know him, and he got a crew called Head Knocker, and they done a lot of significant shit around here. So I've been seeing them for a long time, and I've had a couple conversations with him. He goes by El Presidente. So El Presidente is going to be joining the Cult of Dangerous Gentlemen today for the first time. And we had a couple conversations about psychedelics, about just about overall personal resilience and being able to bounce back from the bullshit, that kind of thing. This was actually, I remember the first time. This will tell you the type of guy this is, because the first time I ever had a real personal conversation with the dude, other than Facebook stuff, was he had said online that he had a vasectomy. Oh, I need to ask some questions. I need to find some shit out about this, because there was a time a few years back when I was like seriously considering it. I don't think I am anymore, but it was important for me to find some real deal information. And dude was very gracious and not being like, "Yo, who the fuck are you? Why are you asking me about a vasectomy for?" So that was very gracious, and I appreciate it.
Well, in your defense, it was something that was proclaimed on social media. So
Right.
I think you're allowed to have a follow up question
A
without it being
private
too
message
awkward.
like, "I remember you
Yeah.
said." Yeah, I know it could be seen as kind of weird. I definitely get it, but it was cool. It ended up being a good conversation. But yeah, man. So I'm definitely excited to uh to have a talk with the brother. But other than that, man, I mean, I've had a great week. I'm sure you've had a great week. How did everything go?
Yo,
Oh, it was
yo, yo.
wonderful. Oh, what's up, man?
What's up,
Peace.
man? Sorry. Sorry for interrupted.
No, we was
He's got the
talking
bit.
while it was ringing. It's all good. But I appreciate you coming on, man. El Presidente with the Cult of Dangerous Gentlemen. This is a illustrious and joyous occasion. Definitely appreciate you making time for us, man.
Man, not a problem at all. Not a problem. I appreciate the invite.
Dope, dope. So I'll ask you the same question I just asked my bro here. How was your week?
My week's been interesting. My week's been interesting. I've been down for a few weeks now, so but I'm starting to hobble and walk this week. So it's been a week of small wins for me, sir.
Oh, that's excellent. Yeah, I remember seeing you posting about that. Them small wins are very important.
Absolutely.
Yeah, finding time to celebrate those are very, very important. So you want to share a little bit of what's been going on?
Well, what about just my last few
Yeah,
weeks?
yeah. You said you've been down for a couple weeks.
Yeah, but apparently I had a herniated disc that was about
Oh,
to sever a nerve. So I had to go get surgery and now I'm relearning how to walk here.
oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's been crazy.
Yeah, that's very crazy.
Yep.
How did you injure it? Do you even know? Or you just started having pain one day?
Well, I always had back issues since high school. I had messed up my back when I was doing when I was in basketball team. I didn't It was one of those days where I just didn't feel like stretching, so I had hurt myself, and then through the years it just became very degenerative. Over the years. So I had a few surgeries previously. This is probably the third back surgery I've had, but this one was by far the worst going into it. I never got into an emergency surgery. This was that. Basically, I was floored and I couldn't even move, and the worst pain in my life. Nerve pain really sucks.
Oh
So,
yeah,
so
man.
I dealt with that, and then they did emergency surgery. Was in the hospital for 4 days, and then now I'm home in recovery doing physical therapy twice a week, and being a hardhead because that's who I am. So
Right. That's probably gonna make you heal faster anyway, right?
that's what I feel like. People tell me take it easy. I'm like, but then you're telling me to move around. Which one is it? So I move around.
Yeah, yeah. It's always the who don't really listen. They do a little bit of extra work and like that. That's the montage you see in those movies, the comeback montage. The nurses are like, "No, you have to rest." He's like, "Fuck you, I can do this."
Yeah,
Those are
that's
the guys
exactly
who
where I'm
actually
at.
make the comeback. You know what I mean?
That's where I'm
Ain't
at,
nothing wrong
man.
with that, man.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. But that's what we were. That's what I just said was so one of the big topics and one of the reasons I wanted to have you on is because just having the interactions that we've had on social media over time, just personal resilience and the bounce back game. You know what I'm saying? This is something that from the outside looking in, I've seen you display consistently, like I said, since we've been connected on social media. I know you've been a lot of stuff, even though when we talked about the psychedelics and everything, the mind state that I see that you have is one of like, I'm gonna approach this shit and get over it regardless of what it is. And I think that's dope. I think that's a dope example to set for people, especially when it's not just talking about it, you actually living that shit out.
Yeah, when you're in the thick of it, you push through it, and as hard headed as I am, there's a lot of doubts in that pathway. So got to push through all that stuff. So that stuff's tough. I appreciate the recognition of that, man. It means a lot.
Nah, dope. I want to ask. I remember when we did have our conversation about the shrooms a while back. You had mentioned that there was a change that took place, and you weren't always aligned the way you are now. With that type of resiliency, you said some things had changed. You want to get into a little bit about the transitional period where you were versus what influenced the switch.
Yeah, I mean, really, the change in me happened at earlier on in my life. Like I was in a position where um, life had hit at a point where I had made all the wrong decisions. I wasn't very resilient at one point in my life. I quickly gave up on things or quickly switched modes on, what I was trying to do. And if I hit a wall, I went and did something completely different. Um, and it landed me into a position where I was basically uh, bouncing from place to place with a pregnant wife and a kid. And my back was up against the wall. And I think at that point in time, like I had nowhere to go. I only had myself to figure it out. And I think when life puts you in those corners, you either break or you figure it out. And I did. I figured it out over time. I stuck with it, and what it did is it changed something in me during that time, where I realized, when I'm backed up against a wall, I do have the ability to overcome those things in my life, and I do have the ability to problem solve and really get through it. Um, Now, older in my life, I think about 2 years ago, me and my family, me and my kids went through a really hard transition of abandonment. And at that time, that's why I think I told you, I was like, I started hitting a wall within myself. It's kind of the reasons I approached the psychedelics to begin with. I had a wall. Um, and I explained it to a friend, and the friend said, I know exactly what you need. so, so he was like, you need a journey within yourself. That's what you need. Put away your phone. He gave me the whole rundown. Take this, and then take this an hour later. And he was like, make sure you just have nothing bothering you. Meditate, because he already knew I meditated. And he's like, and then just take that journey. Take that journey, brother. And I did, and it was helpful. I broke through the wall. And I also realized that subconsciously I've spent a lifetime breaking through walls now. And I
Mm,
didn't and I didn't always recognize that. So
that's powerful. That's definitely powerful because that matters. If you could be jumping hurdles like you said your whole life and not realizing it, not giving yourself credit for it, not taking the time to celebrate, all the work you actually been doing. And if you don't, it feels like you haven't been doing nothing. You
you're
can
right.
feel defeated even though you've been knocking shit out for years. And that's a hard place to be actually doing the work and not recognizing it in yourself. So you don't feel like you accomplishing nothing. That's crazy.
Right. Right.
That's crazy. My last psychedelic experience was on the last solstice, and we had some LSD, a lot. It was a lot, a little bit more than the party dose. This was like one of those real deal, like let's see what you got doses, and
Wow.
yeah, shit was absolutely intense, but amazing and welcomed. And it seems as like it's a lot more manageable when you set your space, like you were saying, putting your phone away, making sure nothing is going to bother you. You pick a date, you know what I mean? And when you take it in that kind of mindset, I feel like it's more manageable and you get more out of it versus feeling like it's taking you for a ride. I think if you were out at a party or somewhere and somebody was like, yo, here's some shrooms, and you just eat some, that's going to be a lot harder to deal with, and it's going to feel a lot more intense than if you sit down in a quiet, safe environment with the intention of breaking through some walls and healing. If you just pop some acid at a party, because what the thing is, after I had the big dose that we prepared for, I took half that dose for fun one day. And that shit almost felt it was almost more intense than the double dose that I had taken for the solstice
Oh wow.
because my head wasn't in that space of being anchored and being grounded. It was just like a let's watch some Marvel Agents of Shield on acid. That shit was hardcore. And I'm trying to set my bro up here for a psychedelic experience, and he's been trying to avoid it. I don't know if he knows that I know he's been trying to avoid it, but
Oh no, no, no! It's clearly established. I'm trying to avoid it.
Yep,
so I'm
You're right.
setting it up, man. I'm setting up the space. We're gonna get our shamanic energy on, and we're gonna lay it out. But I'm hoping that we can all get together. I'm looking for, I'm not looking for. I'm trying to put together a situation that where more people can get together and have these experiences for the sake of dealing with whatever. A lot of people are dealing with a lot of shit right now, man. Just life in general, plus everything else that's happening with pandemics and economics and politics and all of this shit. There's just a lot of atmospheric pressure and shit. And I know a bunch of people who are interested. So I'm working on putting something like that together to where we could all be in the same space dealing with whatever we need to deal with some psychedelics involved. So that's on my vision board, my agenda for this year to make that happen one way or another.
that's dope too. And sometimes people don't. You mentioned people are dealing with different things. There's a lot of pressure going on right now, and sometimes we don't stop long enough to realize that we're dealing with things.
Mm.
If there's anything that I could say about, especially shrooms, I don't know about acid so much, but shrooms themselves kind of make you stop and introspectively look at your life and look at yourself, and it's like you start recognizing certain things you didn't see, and life moves so fast. Sometimes we just don't know.
That's a fact. Shrooms definitely has a more emotional energy to it. I feel like it's more
Hmm.
introspective,
Hmm.
where acid is more. It makes you look out and kind of lock in on things outside of you more than shrooms does. When you're on acid, that's the space for the what they call it, the tie dye and all of
Yeah.
those weird things. Like it's all of that will keep you totally occupied on acid. Wild music and flashing lights and all of that shit.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're on shrooms, that's the exact opposite of the environment you want to be in. If you're on shrooms, you want to be sitting in the grass somewhere, just feeling the breeze and thinking about yourself. And it's amazing how they can both they're doing the same thing technically to the brain, but the effect on the body is completely different.
It's a different
Completely different.
experience.
Yeah, yeah. Acid feels mechanical to me. It feels like a roller coaster, like something that was built for you to experience this way. It's a tilt-a-whirl, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Something that you go to the carnival to experience. It's clearly artificial artificial high, an artificial environment. The carnival, this is not the real world. We went here because there's a funhouse mirror and there's clowns and shit. That's why you go to the carnival. Shrooms is the exact opposite. Shrooms feels natural. It feels like it's exactly what you want it to be. It's truthful. Acid is a liar.
Yeah.
Shrooms are
I
very truthful.
Yeah, I feel like I have more control on shrooms than I do on acid. Like I feel
Yeah.
like acid just does take you for a ride.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shrooms is with you for a journey. Acid pulls up in a stolen car. It's like, hop in, loser. That's that's what acid's doing. And you make that decision. You're like, fuck it, let's go for a spin. You get what you get. But it can still be channeled, but it just takes, I feel like it takes a lot more work to channel. If somebody is new to psychedelics and they want to have a spiritual experience, I'd say start with shrooms
Agreed.
because that's automatically where you're going to end up. But if you have experience with psychedelics, then I could say, well, you can take acid, you can take either one, and I think you'll still be able to find your way to the same energy, to the same space.
Yeah.
Is it the same active ingredient
No,
that
No.
causes the trip? What is the active ingredient in shrooms versus acid?
shrooms is psilocybin. So
Okay.
they're both naturally occurring chemicals, but psilocybin is in its natural state. You consume it, and it'll give you a psychedelic experience. Psilocybin and psilocin. In acid, LSD, there's a mold that grows on grains, especially like wheat. And this mold, if you treat it the right way, you get lysergic acid from it. And that lysergic acid can be taken and refined and turned into a chemical that gets you high. So it's already more steps involved. Like you can't just eat moldy wheat and get high. That
Hmm.
shit'll kill you before it get. You might feel high while you're dying from eating mold and shit, but it takes a lot of work to create LSD from its source versus
So it's
mushrooms. You
cocaine, basically.
Pretty much, it's psychedelic cocaine. I would say,
Yeah, cocaine of the psychedelic
yeah,
world.
because it takes work. It takes some
More
science. You know what I'm
refinement.
saying?
Gotcha.
It takes science to make it happen. Whereas a mushroom, you pick it and eat it, and game on. You don't need nothing else to be done. I've never even had or seen anything that was like a tincture or some kind of reduction like they do with like weed. You get the wax from it, and I've never seen anything like that with mushrooms. I've
I've
never
had a
seen.
I've had a chocolate bar of shrooms.
Well, that's probably just chopped up mushrooms in the chocolate bar, right?
No, I don't know. I mean, they like fully packaged it and everything. It's called I gotta look it up. I actually have the picture of the
Oh, it's
of
like
it.
a real product. Like,
Like it's a real product out in
holy
Cali.
shit.
They actually like, but they even have like a website for that specific experience and everything. Yeah.
Wow, I've never seen. I've never seen any
Mm.
type of secondary product created from shrooms. I've just seen people eat mushrooms. I've made tea with it and shit like that before. You know, one of my first times I tripped, I made tea because it was just something you hear about. But I've
Yeah.
never heard of anybody doing any type of extraction of it.
Mm-mm. Oh yeah. I mean, it's called Lyt. I'm gonna send it to you now so you can see it.
Lit.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's called. Crazy,
Oh
right?
yeah, you'll be lit all right.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's like 2 grams of
what?
shrooms. Yeah, they got 2 grams of shrooms in it. It even has the whole breakdown of like what chemicals in it and all that. Yeah, it's
Yo,
crazy.
that's wild. I've never seen that before.
It
I've
is
never seen that before. That's pretty dope though. I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, as far as products go and as far as the legality, I think more people should have access to psychedelics. But I feel like it's so environmental. You just need to be in the right space and doing the right thing. But I guess that's like alcohol too. You know, there's certain shit you don't want to do on alcohol. You can't be operating machinery and driving on the highway.
right.
So you just got to assume that the people who get their hands on that are smart enough to do it the way you're supposed to do it.
Yeah, yeah. I just sent it to your Facebook Messenger so you can see the
No,
pictures
that's
of it.
dope. That's fire. I had no idea. Premium chocolate bar. That
Uh-huh.
is amazing. It's got the fucking psilocybin molecule in the branding.
Yep.
I love it, dude. That is crazy. And two
Yep.
grams of mushrooms. So you eat, yeah. This is one chocolate bar you eat to yourself, and it's gonna be a party.
Yeah, yeah, I did, and and the crazy part is it felt just like shrooms, so I knew it was shrooms, but it had like a very clean feel to it.
Yeah.
I can't even know how to explain it, but to say that it was like shrooms HD, it just everything felt cleaner. Like when you look in the mirror, like I used to have in my mirror in my bathroom, it used to be kind of like this weird fuzzy view of myself there. On that chocolate bar, it was like it was still the same kind of view, but it was just cleaner. I don't even know how to explain it. It's just crazy.
Yeah. It's probably hydroponic. They're probably hydroponically grown shrooms.
Probably.
Yeah, that's the only difference I could think of. And I've had both, you know, like just regular grown shrooms. What I haven't had is fresh picked like you know farm type shrooms. And I
Yeah.
know a lot of people, especially up where I live at Pasco County, a lot of people say that they did it when they were teenagers and they used to just go, you know, hop the fence after it rained and get bags and bags full of them. So I've never had it that fresh. I've grown my own, and I've just bought, you know, shrooms from wherever, you know, wherever they come from. Who knows what type it is. But I
Yeah.
feel like the ones that I had that were hydroponic to me felt, I would say the same thing. They felt a little bit cleaner, like the delivery system was more efficient. You know what I mean? When people are growing them on cow dung and shit like that and straw bales and shit, I feel like there's just a lot more in the whole makeup of the mushroom than if you grow them hydroponically. You control so much of the contaminants and shit like that. It's just a whole nother hustle.
Agreed.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I'd love to have them growing on my property. I need to get me a couple cows. Is what I need to
Right.
do. I need to get a couple cows and just let them hang out over here and see if I get any gifts after the rain.
Man, I got a crap load of them away on this side of Pasco, over here
I
where I stay at.
I just don't want to trespass on nobody's property. and shit. Like,
Right, right, right. So I
I'm
was just cow
prone to
tipping.
trespassing.
Yeah.
like I know what you're looking for, bro.
You gotta tell them you cow tipping it. That's how you
So
gotta
okay,
play it off.
Pinky, since you are dodging a psychedelic experience, I need to know what is the most intense psychoactive experience you've had so far?
I'd have to say from smoking a lot of weed.
Hmm.
Smoking a lot of weed has made my mind wander. Uh, to pretty uncomfortable places. I did do shrooms once. Um, I thought that weed was more potent, but I didn't have any like very rarely like with weed will you have any kind of visual hallucination. You know, you start seeing the ceiling move or seeing the wall
Right.
move or stuff like that, which seemed a little bit more pronounced when the one time I did mushrooms.
Mhm.
So, but acid, nah, I haven't ventured there. I've done just pretty much smoked weed or I did mushrooms I think twice. I live by that philosophy. If it's in the ground, then it's okay to put it down. But if it's in a lab, you want to stay away from it.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. And the only reason I have a it took me, well, first of all, it took me most of my life. I didn't have my first trip until I was like 35 or something like that. It was yeah, it was I was in my 30s when I had my first trip. And even that trip took me 3 months to actually 100% agree to and prepare myself for, because I was doing all this research and Googling, can you die from it? All this kind of shit. Because I got something that I carry with me from my childhood. And you know how they send those cops to the school when you're young, grammar
Mhm.
school and shit. The cop will
Resource
come to the school.
officers.
Yeah, they'll just come talk shit to you. And
Oh yeah, the little dare presentation.
yeah,
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 yeah, yeah,
officer friendlies and shit like that. The guy came to
yeah.
our school, and none of us were paying attention because we're little kids from the hood, so we like whatever. And he said, some people die the first time they try drugs. And that just clicked in my brain. Something in my brain whispered, "That's you."
Mm.
And for my whole life, I like, I'd smoke bud, but I was like, I'm not doing nothing else because I'm gonna die. If I sniff coke once, I'll die. The cop said it. You know what I'm saying? It just, for some reason, it felt true to me. So I carried that with me for a long time. But I had some friends who was doing a whole lot of acid very frequently, and they invited me over. And yeah, it took me about 3 months of convincing myself to actually try it. But once I tried it, like I said, the environment was dope. Everything went well. I had a bunch of awesome realizations and shit. So acid has but still, you never know what you're getting. You never know
Right.
where it's coming from. So there's a danger there, that doesn't really exist as much with mushrooms. Mushrooms, you know what you're getting because they're very distinct. Once you've seen them, you know what they look like. You know what to look for as far as the coloration goes and everything else. So yeah, mushrooms are all the way around probably safer, 100%, and dosable. You can't really measure an acid dose because the difference between having a good time and having possibly the worst trip of your life is whether the guy put one drop or two drops on it. You just There's no way to know. Once you take that shit, game over. It's going to be in your body until your body processes it, and that might be 18 hours. You know what I'm saying? With
It's a
acid,
commitment.
yeah, it is. It is. Because with mushrooms, if you take a gram and a half, you're only getting a gram and a half worth of experience, period. Even if they're really good shrooms, you're going to get a gram and a half experience, something that's measurable. Other people who've taken that same amount will have very similar explanations of how it went down. The trip reports and shit are accurate up until about 5 grams. But with acid, it just is what it is, bro. You take that shit and you sign the contract.
And
I've
that's
been
always
very
my
fortunate.
concern is finding out how it's sourced and possibly if it's contaminated or there's other issues that you have no way of knowing.
Right?
So
Yeah.
I don't know. My paranoia keeps me clear of it.
Well, I got some really good acid right now.
He's like, I know this one's good. I know this
Yeah,
one's
yeah, it's been tested. I got a bunch of it, so this might be a good time to experiment if you want to. But I know shrooms is going to be an all around better experience for everybody. So that's what I'm really trying to set up. And I know you've been hearing of me talk about the big piece of property, the compound, and what the plans we have for it and what we want to do.
Mhm.
And I'm just looking so forward to it, dude. It kind of jumped out at me as a concept, and it's been stuck in my brain ever since to create this situation. So everything I'm doing right now is moving towards that, especially with the stuff we're doing, even what we're doing here, bringing up these creating intellectual properties, even though some of them might be problematic, some of them might get us in trouble, but we're gonna put them out anyway because it's basically gonna help us get to building a healing compound that everybody can take part in.
All right. I'll be
So,
I'll be visiting.
oh yeah, absolutely. You're definitely invited, bro. You're definitely invited. Anybody that wants to put some time into healing and having some dope psychological realizations is always invited. So, is anybody watching the Super Bowl today?
We'll be late. Might be later, although I don't really watch football like that.
Oh, see, good, good. Me either. I'm definitely not a sports guy at all, but I didn't even realize it was going to be today until like yesterday. People started talking about it, and I realized I was like, "Oh, dude, I invited somebody to come on our podcast on Super Bowl Sunday." I'm like, "Is that obnoxious? Is that like disrespectful to to assume you're not going to watch the game and shit?"
No, I don't really watch it like that, but my brother does and stuff. I was gonna get like pizza and wings, but it's more to eat pizza and wings, less to watch football.
Right, right. That makes sense. Yeah, I'm looking forward to all of the activity I'm gonna see online. I know everybody's gonna be giving us the play by play. I love social media athletes. You scrolling through Facebook and you don't watch sports, but you're scrolling through Facebook and you just see he could have caught that.
Yep.
You just see somebody post he could have caught that, or you got to run those or some shit like that. I love it. It's the funniest shit in the world, dude. People get angry about this shit. They live vicariously through the athletes, which has some serious implications. But we're not going to talk about that at this particular moment. I'm gonna let them breathe. But last week we discovered how homoerotic football is. And I think
Wow.
I already knew, but it's like once we dug into it, it's like really started laughing about it. It was like, yeah, this is a weird ass game for like super manly men to attach themselves to and get so emotional about. It's a really weird game. It's a lot of strange positioning, a lot of closeness and tight clothes and shit. A lot of it's weird. It's just weird. I'm sorry.
For being so manly, right?
Right? Yeah, it's for you to be so mad. It almost seems like a game, a sport that women would watch. Because all the dudes got on tight ass pants and they all over each other and shit. It's like this seems like it. Like when men watch, uh, what did you say? He said, "Oh, beach volleyball."
Yeah.
When men watch
Both.
beach volleyball, I don't think you can't. If somebody walks in on you watching women's beach volleyball, there's no excuse. There's nothing you can say. You can't say you're interested in the game or it's a good sport. You're just looking at half naked chicks jumping around on the screen.
Pretty much.
Right. So when you walk in on a football game and dudes are bent over and another guy's crouched behind him and he's reaching between his legs for a ball, you're like, what are you watching? What are you watching in here, bro? Oh, it's football. It's the manliest sport there is. Right?
And when they're done, they're all gonna take a shower together. It's fucking awesome.
Oh my God. I never even thought about it that way. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, bro. It's just a little.
I'll never see it the same.
Oh, bro, listen, I'm gonna be. Wait till you hear the last episode of the show where we actually get really deep into the concept of this shit, and I think I'm pretty sure you can tie football to old Greco-Roman, you know, Greco-Roman wrestling and shit like that. And we all
Yeah. Say less. I
yeah,
already know.
we know what's going on over there. But hey, look, it's manly. I don't want to burst anybody's bubble. It's the masculine thing to be doing on a Sunday afternoon. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll leave. I let them live. Let them live.
As long as I can eat pizza and wings, I'm good.
Yeah, that's all we really need, right? Is a reason to have pizza and wings, and if it has to be football, then let it be football. I ain't mad. And Tampa, because it's when is the last time the Bucks been to a Super Bowl?
I don't even know, to be honest with you, if they've ever been to one.
2006.
Mm.
Let me look it up. I think the
What?
last time they were there, they won, didn't they?
I don't know. Well, that's not too bad though. That's not too bad because I just remember people complaining about the Bucks since I've been in Florida. All I can remember is people being mad at them for blowing it.
Listen, I'm gonna Google this right now. Ooh, let's see. Now I'm curious.
Yeah, I hear a lot of Bucks hate. Not necessarily hate, but disappointment. Bucks disappointment. A lot of people be angry. So it was interesting to see how excited they got. I think I knew this was going to happen as soon as I heard Tom Brady came here.
Yeah, 2002. Buccaneers will be making just their second Super Bowl appearance in team history. The last time they made it, they closed 2002 season with a 48-21 rout of the Oakland Raiders in Super Bowl 37?
So 2002. So this is the only two times they've ever been.
Yeah.
Is that bad? I don't see. Like I said, I don't know a lot about these statistics and shit, but that seems like uh, if your team's been around since the late 70s and you've only been to the Super Bowl twice, that seems pretty bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the Bills went like 5 times. They lost them all, but at least they went 5 times, right?
Yeah, I
That
think they
gotta that's
went
gotta
four
help.
times in a row.
In a row.
They went
And
four times in a row and lost. Yeah.
I just remember that because when I was a kid, all the jokes were going around about the Bills. Like there was shit was on
Yeah.
Saturday Night Live. It was just everywhere. Everybody had a joke about the Bills. I remember they said Bills stands for because I love losing Super Bowls. And even though I don't watch football, that shit stuck with me forever. Anytime I hear somebody mention the Bills, like, oh, because I love losing Super Bowls. That's those
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah, that's exactly that was the joke. I think I stopped watching sports around like the 90s when they lost one of those Super Bowls.
Yeah, that was the last time I watched too. Back when it was a bunch of amazing shit happening, like Emmett Smith and Deion Sanders and
Yeah.
like all these just superstars that kind of it seems like they transcended the game because I wasn't really locked into football, but you still knew who these guys were. You know what I mean? Like now, I don't know. I don't think I know. I think I know. I know a football player. I know Gronk. I know Tom Brady. And that's probably about it. I don't know a lot of football players, but even back then, it was a lot of names. I remember Refrigerator Perry. What did that guy do? I don't even think he did much. He was just a personality that people knew. And that was the last time I was really checking for sports. You kind of had to be at a kid that age. You loved the Cowboys and shit. Who knows? The Giants. I don't think they won too many games either, but they were just like one of those favorite teams. Everybody loves the Giants, especially in New York, New Jersey, being from that area.
Yep.
You had to
Even
love
if they suck,
Yeah, you
we
gotta
still
love
love
them.
them.
I
Yep.
don't understand that shit at all.
We love the Knicks and they lost all the time.
I don't understand that at all. Something that always bugged me out about sports is how people want you to be loyal to a team that loses, and they see it as like a lack of integrity if you only like the team that's winning.
Yeah.
I don't understand that at all. Why wouldn't I like the team that's winning? If somebody just starts spanking everybody's ass, I'm like, oh yeah, I like these guys this year, and then maybe next year I like somebody else. But people hate that shit. You're
Yeah.
supposed to stick with your team no matter how much they lose. You wear the jersey. You're heartbroken every game, but still, it's my team. I can't. I don't understand that. I don't get
you
it.
you might start becoming enlightened to the limitations of tribalism if you keep thinking along those lines.
All right, see, this is tribalism again. Tribalism forcing you to
There we
stay
Stay
go.
loyal to your piece of land, even if your system doesn't work and you
right.
lose every single year. Don't be a treacherous piece of shit. Yeah, but I think their philosophy's a little bit more enlightened and it seems to be working for them. They're winning. Okay, do you want to be loyal or do you want to be a winner? Okay, it's not how we're doing this here. So yeah,
God,
if you transcend tribalism, you might be able to adapt something that isn't defined within your geography, but is actually way more productive. But
right.
we would
If
be
you
higher
tell
functioning
somebody,
human beings if we did that.
if you tell somebody you like a certain team, they'll assume that that's where you're from.
Yeah. A
Right.
lot of times that is that. Yeah.
God, dude, tribalism is killing us. It's seeping into everything and destroying us from the inside out, bro.
You know, it'd be great though if you're just really not into sports, but just to fuck with people, especially if you don't look the part. Just anytime somebody asks you, just any team from Utah, you're with him. Yeah, man, I'm a big Utah Jazz fan. Big Utah Jazz fan. For
What?
real?
Really?
From Utah?
Utah. They sound like their team suck.
It does.
I've never been like that. I've never had that regional allegiance like that. It just doesn't make sense to me to pledge allegiance to a landmass. Like
Facts.
I don't get that at all. I'm from New Jersey, but I can't see a time in my life where it would be appropriate for me to like, oh, I gotta rep that Brick City, yo, Newark, New. Like, what the fuck?
I did when I was young. Because everybody from New York, we all do it.
Yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
when we come down here and to Florida. So when I was young, that was the thing. Yeah, I'm from New York. I'm from New York until I got my butt kicked by a hillbilly looking kid, and then then all of a sudden I was like, all right, maybe y'all are tough too. So,
I'm a gangster in here, son.
right.
Yeah, that shit happens a lot. There's a lot of videos on YouTube of people who are with that fish out of water shit. They go
Yeah.
to another place and they start claiming like, oh, especially New York, because New York has that. It's like it's a big bravado place,
Yeah.
and every place in New York has their own right. And so it's not just New York as a whole, And when you out of state, yeah, New York. But when you're in New York or in those around those places, it's Brooklyn, it's
It's the
fucking
boroughs.
the it's Harlem, it's blah
Uh-huh.
blah blah.
Yeah.
I've never had that. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't mean I see of course Tampa is one of those cities people love it. They be yelling their what's the area codes and shit.
Yeah.
Yo, I get such a kick out of it because I just don't understand it. I'm like, I guess, I mean, I feel like I met a lot of dope people here, people I got a lot of love for, but I don't blame that on Tampa. Like, I don't attribute that to the place. These are just
Yeah.
people who are dope that I met. Like, I don't. That's not Tampa's fault. We just happen to meet here.
Yeah.
I'll probably go piss off some locals, but it is what it is, man. We gotta really look at this shit, especially when it gets to a point where people are gonna start beefing about it. I went to one football game in my life, and it was Tampa Bay versus the Eagles. And the Eagles are not only they're not only known for having violent, disrespectful fans, but for some reason, Tampa specifically, they're like a rivalry. I guess I don't know if it's because of the games or just because it's South and I don't know, but Philadelphia Eagles and Tampa Bay Buccaneers had some kind of rivalry. I had no idea, but the guys who were repping the Eagles were assholes.
Mhm.
They were some serious assholes, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. These adult males who were basically inserting this level of aggression into a football game in their fandom that was pretty much going to start physical altercations with people for no other reason than there's a game happening and I like the other team. And that's fucking crazy to me.
People take it that serious. That's the
Yeah.
thing. It's crazy.
We're just emulating the Greek city states. We got to have our flag. We're going to have some competitions. We're going to be loyal to our section. And, we need to dominate you physically with oil. And you need to know that.
Oh shit.
Just
That's
made that
that's
deep. Just made
that's
that deep.
that's what it's all derived from.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Dominance.
And these are people who would never themselves be the gladiators. They're not going to be the guys who, put in the work and the effort to actually create the entertainment. But they get so charged up about it that they're ready to fight with other fans in the stand. Like you have one of the best places to be in the world. Like you watching these motherfuckers crashing into each other, risking injury and shit like that. You just sitting here with nachos.
Yeah.
Why are you so angry, bro? Like what?
Well,
Why
I'm
are you
pretty
so
sure.
angry?
I'm pretty sure they're fed that too. Those in the sports casting shows and all that stuff. I mean, they've gotten increasingly more dramatic. They actually include all the drama in there to kind of keep everybody going. It's like one big soap opera.
Yeah.
I think it wouldn't be as effectual as it is if there wasn't something to it. Because it's not just American football. I mean, soccer hooligans, they'll kill each other over this
Oh
shit
yeah.
about
Oh
a
yeah.
about a game. The people get out of their mind. So I
Yeah.
think we are the odd men out in that we're not interested in it. We kind of see it as, I don't want to say it's stupid because I'm into a lot of dumb shit. So I can't say, there's no value in that. It's stupid. People want to be entertained, but that level of fervor, like there's nothing that I like in like a hobby capacity that I like so much that it works me up into a violent frenzy against somebody else who maybe likes the competitors. You know what I'm saying? When I was a kid, I liked Transformers. I wasn't gonna fuck anybody up because they had GoBots. Oh, you
Right.
like the
Right. Right.
GoBots? And so there's something in our primal wiring that people a lot smarter than us have figured out, that when you get people to identify with an ethnicity or a landmass or a specific boundary, and then you attach all these other kinds of things to it. A mascot, a color, a flag. It riles people up, and they get into it. They get into it, and it's a really easy way. I mean, you're not even asking them to go to war. You're just asking them to buy tickets to an event and watch, and they take it upon themselves to go to war anyway. We're
Right.
gonna fuck you up afterwards. We're gonna have a soccer riot.
Because
Yeah,
they're
you
so
could
invested. They're so
right.
invested. That's why.
So I think the people that design it, the reason why we have that is people figured out that they're tapping into something really, really primal. That's really a huge part of human beings. That's undeniable. That we could be worked up into a frenzy over stupid shit if you tell us, that we're represented, by a bull or an eagle or a
Right.
homosexual pirate. If we're represented by it, then we're going to be on board with it.
Dude, I remember back in the day, this just dug this up in my memory just now as you were talking, how well this shit can be engineered without your consent and without you really knowing what's going on. There was a place called Medieval Times back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember that.
When you go to Medieval Times, they would sit you in a section, and uh, the sections would, of course, it was just a stadium kind of thing. So there wasn't no separation. There'd be like, this is the green side, this is the white side. Y'all sitting right next to each other. So everybody would get a certain color, their flags and everything they got to wave was coincided with the color of the knight whose side you were on. And I remember the people who were sitting there with different color stuff went from, in the early part of the show, just cheering for their knight. And then after a few minutes, you cheer for yours. But then when the other guy comes on, you start booing him and
Booing,
talking
yeah.
shit. And then by the end of the show,
Fuck that guy.
yeah.
Right.
By the end of the show, you're looking across the aisle at the other people who paid to be
Yeah.
here. You're like, "Fuck you! You're in the wrong
Yeah.
team." And it's crazy how that shit manifests itself in people so easy. It's
Yeah.
really just a part of our psyche and how we deal with things. And like you said, all we need to see is a color and an insignia, and the people will do the rest on their own.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't need to give them any principle. Like, yeah,
Nothing.
we're all going to be bound together because we want to end world hunger. We're all
No.
going to be bound together because we want to end child slave labor. Like,
Nope.
it's not even anything like that where you would think people would be really emotionally charged and ethically invested in. You're like, listen, our color is orange and our animal is the piglet. Okay,
They just go with it.
so fuck those guys. Fuck their purple flags. Fuck their hummingbird insignia. Fuck them. Okay,
Yeah.
that's
Whatever
all
they
we need.
stand for. Who cares?
Right.
What, what did the Green Knight and the White Knight were practicing together backstage, right? They don't really hate each other, but we're out here fucking booing this guy. He's playing a role. He's not even a real knight. They got to do this shit 3 more times before the day's over.
It's a
it, it,
ritual. It,
oh
it,
yes,
it
it
it's
is.
a it's a ritual that demonstrates how you kind of turn the rudder on masses of people and channel the energy. Even like with wrestling, where everybody knows it's fake,
Right.
but the heel gets out there and people are still booing. People want to be enraptured in that whole experience.
It's
Crazy.
kind of
Yeah.
sickening a little bit. It's a little when you see what they're able to do to people just by aligning a couple characters together and how they can get so many people emotionally involved. It's kind of weird, dude. I feel like I got played. I cried when Andre the Giant turned on Hulk Hogan.
Oh, yeah, they got you.
Yeah.
I
They
cried.
Got you.
got
I
you.
was
They got
I was that young, and it bothered me that much to see these two guys who were clearly friends and teammates this whole time, and then Andre the Giant like rips Hogan's shirt off and shit, and like I can see the whole thing in my head right now. I felt betrayed. I felt betrayed, yo, and it's all bullshit. And now you got grown adult males still tapped into this shit. They know completely in the front of their brain that it's all fake. But how
Mm-hmm.
how how? I don't even understand how you get an adult male to tune into this shit and watch two guys in underwear slam each other. How do you get a grown man to watch that? Like, once you know it's not a real competition, what's left? What's left to bring you back? Who cares if it's Roddy Piper or The Rock? Like, who? How? For children, if you're 12, I get it. But if you're 30, how does I don't understand what the hook is for an adult male to watch wrestling.
It's a soap opera. It's entertainment. People like to be entertained for some weird. I think that's kind of the difference here.
But
Is
yeah, it's like entertainment. I could see it as like if I watch a movie or if I like to watch anime. Like I would never question like, oh, why would a grown man be watching a TV show on Netflix? Like I totally get that. This is created to have this fantasy, but these guys are still
You
kind
need
of
people that are emotionally invested in it.
right, emotionally invested and in something that we know 100%. So is wrestling just like a like you said, it's just a live action soap opera then?
yeah, at that point because they know it's fake. You
Right, you
can't tell
know
me
it's
that they
fake.
think it's real. I
They're not
mean,
Dude,
pretending it's real anymore, are they?
when
Like,
when
do
Stone
they?
Stone Cold Steve Austin Stone Cold stunned Vince McMahon, that shit was hilarious. It's undeniably hilarious. I know it's all fake. I know it's stupid. But as a teenager, I saw that. I'm like, that's great.
He,
That's great.
he kicked his boss in the balls. That's awesome. God, it
and
is.
then
It's
and then and then the energy of the because they know it's fake too, but they put on oh the Stone Cold Stunner, the Stone Cold Stunner,
yeah.
and you
I
hear them
give the
go out of
most
their
credit to
minds.
the announcers. The
Yeah,
announcers
they
get the
sell it.
most credit. Yeah, because they're having fucking aneurysms and heart attacks over
I,
there. Oh
I
my
can't
God.
believe it.
Oh, and scripted victories, bro. Like, so once I realized that the wrestlers weren't actually trying to kill each other, like, so that's one level of the Matrix. You realize, okay, so they're not really trying to beat the shit out of each other, but you still it is still a match, right? Whoever wins, like, oh no, it's already contracted and written who's going to win what match and how long you have to fight before you pin the other guy, and it's like, oh shit, dude, this is not even it's not even competition entertainment. This is literally a soap opera just with
Right.
wrestling.
They're making money together by distracting your attention and getting you emotionally riled up. That's why I'm saying all political debates need to be set up the same way. You need to have Democrats and Republicans next to like Mean Gene holding up the microphone. You need to have the politician like, when I get you in the debate stage, brother, I'm gonna fuck you up.
I'd like that.
Same thing.
I'd like that more than what's happening right now, honestly.
Way more. That would be great. Have them put on ridiculous fucking outfits, just the most ostentatious, flamboyant shit they could find, and just start screaming absurdities into a microphone with some guy interviewing them, look trying not to laugh and doing his best to look like he's really enthralled and a bit scared about from what the dude is saying. That'd be great. Way more
Yeah.
entertaining and way more honest.
That's the political debate that America deserves.
right.
To keep it real, because I mean, this is what America is. I mean, that's why are they up there in suits trying to pretend to be intellectual and have integrity?
He's
How
Right.
gonna
dope
raise
would
your taxes, brother. He's gonna raise your taxes.
how dope would it have been to see Donald Trump come out? Like, you know how sometimes it's supposed to just be an interview, but it pops off. Like, what
With
if
no
Donald
shirt
Trump
on.
just came out stomping and shit and punched Joe Biden in the stomach and suplexed him and then left?
And had some
Yeah.
streamers around his arms and no shirt on.
Oh
Oh, that's
God, I
great.
feel like he would have won if he did that. I feel like he would have won the election if he did that. If he just
Might have.
suplexed Biden and walked off
Oh
with
shit.
music playing with some
I'm
a
a
kid
real
rock song.
American. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, well, we know Donald Trump was the guy. I said it years ago that he was the president that America deserved because of his whole assholery. And now he finally took the veil away. But now we're back to the smiling killers. I'm not saying that Joe Biden's a killer. I'm just saying the smiling person who's not as nice as they pretend to be and probably still doesn't have your best interest at heart, but there's a smile. So it makes people a lot happier, lulls them
Yeah.
to a false sense of security. So
Yeah,
it
it's
is
business as usual. And also it's more of is keeping in the tradition of being outraged about something under the previous administration, and then it goes to even a higher degree on the next one, and nobody bats an eye. Like, I think he signed like 47, some outrageous number of executive orders. And I remember when we were all losing our mind when George Bush was abusing it. Like, I think you're kind of using the executive branch like a king making decrees. Like, I don't think that's how it's supposed to go. And people criticized it. Then Obama did it even more, and then Trump did it even more. And now Biden is like, you know what? Fuck all you guys. I'm gonna do all of this shit through executive order.
Well, he had to fix what Trump fucked up, right?
Did he though?
Well, here's
Is
my
he?
thing about executive orders is that executive orders can easily be wiped away by the next president.
And they as they tend to do.
Like if they really want to keep so an executive order, doing an executive order tells me is that you're just doing this under your presidency and leaving it to luck later on. Because if you really want it to stick, you'll make it go through the formal, the formal
Right.
houses first. In order that way it's not that easy to just sign away. So when these presidential orders is what I see it is more as pandering to the flock,
Absolutely. And when they think it's in their favor, like you're saying, if when they think it's in their favor, they don't complain about the action itself because they think it helps them. But the other guy's executive orders were horrible.
Oh yeah. Don't expect anybody to be principled in it. It's different when your guy's doing it, it's fucking no big deal. When the other person guy is doing it, it's the end of the world.
Yeah,
Um,
always.
did you see the article that Time came out with about basically all of these people that were involved in kind of gatekeeping the information? Time magazine basically came out and said there was a cabal to swing the election. Did you see that?
Wow, really?
Yes.
Wait a minute, hold on.
It's the craziest shit I've ever seen. Yeah, look it up.
So Time Magazine, it, I mean, well, for them to
It's not
say
it's,
they
it's
just said
not
it
Breitbart.
was,
It's not
it's not
Breitbart.
Breitbart. It's definitely
It's
Time.
Time magazine.
The secret history of the shadow campaign that saved the 2020 election.
And that's how they're framing it, is
Wait,
that they called it like galvanizing or fortifying democracy. Now, in any other universe, if we were just speaking plainly and it wasn't 1984, we would be saying, "Oh, influence peddling, or steering, or subterfuge. You're undermining the truth to kind of sway people's opinions." Yeah, that seems kind of shitty and corrupt. No, 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 no. You don't understand. We're fortifying democracy. We're saving 2020. Oh, okay.
wow. The shadow campaign that saved the 2020. I can't even fuck with this right now. I'll save that for later.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to read this later just to see what they're talking about.
That's some wild shit. I'm just looking at a few keywords in the article. I'm like, what the fuck are they talking about?
Which, for me, I'm gonna read through this later, but for me, I felt like more people voted against Trump than voted
Of
for Biden.
course.
And I felt like it was the same thing as like Trump when he won. I felt like more people were voting against Hillary than voting for Trump. I just feel like the same thing happened, just it reversed this time around.
Right.
And for me, what it indicates is that our population as a whole, like as voters, we've become so polarized that we're willing to run to whatever extreme to try to get what we want instead of being balanced. And we kind of get
Or
what we
we
got.
just respond more to the negative. That's what motivates us the most. Is
I don't,
is hatred. It's
I
like,
don't,
I hate that guy.
I don't know that it's so much the negative. I think it's anything that's super polarized. I just think that positive is not often polarized as much as negative is. It's easy to make something super negative, and if somebody's too super happy, everybody's just kind of they look at
But
it like it's sideways. But I just think if positive was as polarized as negative, people will polarize towards that too.
yeah, but I don't even to this very moment understand what we were polarized about. So, like, other than personalities, because when you think about policies, like, what policy issues was America so divided over? Like, should we get back into more wars? You know what I mean? Like, do we really have a feeling about, the carried interest, or who's got what tax breaks, and like there was absolutely no fundamental issues. Like we at least used to be polarized over issues.
They're not
Like,
polarized
well,
over none of that now.
y'all are against gay marriage, y'all are
Right.
homophobic, and there was
Right.
a time when that was true. Like Christian conservatives ran or had a big say about the direction of the Republican Party. That was an issue. Well, we're for gay marriage, you're against gay marriage, so that's an issue. Or you're for abortion, we don't believe in abortion, right? There was something like that to where there would be an issue. On the last two elections, there was no issues.
No, the only issues people were talking about is who's eating babies
Right, Hillary.
and like that was the issues. I didn't.
Hillary's eating babies, and
Yeah.
Donald Trump is gonna save the universe. He's the
Yeah.
secret plan. JFK is gonna come back. JFK Jr. All the plans gonna be revealed. It's like wow,
We're
Dude,
everybody.
both.
can we talk about Hillary eating babies for a second? I mean, I don't want to. I don't want to just skim past that like it was, because this is like the bedrock
Yeah.
of a lot of people's issues with anything that isn't Donald Trump. Like you said, it's not policy. It's not, well, she's going to raise our taxes. It's like, no, she kills children and eats them. She
Yeah.
drinks their adrenochrome. And I'm like, all right, hold on. How did we come to that conclusion though?
Q.
Because of course, Q did it. He set it all up. Okay, now I got a homie who a lot of us know makes dope music, and Son said to me, I got a picture, but it's super graphic. I want to send it to you just so you know how, because he hit me up one day to just break down this Q shit to me. And this was like 2 years ago, and he was telling me what's about to happen is that it's going to be revealed that all the Hollywood elites and politicians have been trafficking children and doing satanic rituals and killing kids and all this shit, and they're going to use the what is it, the emergency broadcast system to show it all on TV. And I was like, fuck, that might change the world if this is really going on, and it leaves the realm of conspiracy theory, and it's on Front Street now. Oh yeah, Johnny Depp killed a baby and drank its blood, and here's video of him doing it. That might change the fucking world and change how we deal with celebrity and all of this shit. So I was like, fuck, that's crazy. Where's all this coming from? So after we talked for a while, he said, I'm gonna show you this picture, and just I want you to just be prepared because it's graphic. So he texted me this picture, and it was a fucked up picture of a kid. It was like a young, like probably 8 or 9 year old girl with her fucking face ripped off. And I was like, fuck, what is that? And he just said, Hillary did that. And I was like, okay, wait. So we have an image of a obviously hurt child. How do we get from that to Hillary did it?
Not a dog attack, not a car
But that's what I
accident.
said. And he
Yeah.
said, what else do you think? What he said, what do you think happened? I was like, I can't just blame it on a politician. But this could have been a fucking bear could have ripped her out of a tent while she was camping or something like that.
Right.
How do you just land at Hillary did it? And
Q.
there was, but
Q.
I'm just talking about an intelligent, functional human. How can somebody show you an image of something and say anybody did it without
Well,
any connective tissue between that person and this image?
Well, because it's not about that connective tissue. I've been following this Q thing. I've been on 8chan and 4chan networks for a long time.
Okay.
I've been doing coding. I've been
There's
doing
an
coding for a
insider.
while.
We got an
You-
insider.
So
Okay.
you're the one that told us all that drinking milk was white supremacy. Got it.
Yeah.
No problem. Continue.
But I've been on those boards for a long time since we've been a lot of us that have been online doing stuff, especially like coding websites and coding apps and stuff like that. We jump on stuff like darknet and all that stuff before like the news started talking about it. And one of the things that I always realized about those boards is it's filled with a bunch of people that some are crazy, literally probably clinically crazy. They're also filled with a lot of extreme. And if we want to talk about polarized thoughts and beliefs, like you'll find them on those boards all day. I have a really big problem when something comes from one of those boards and starts giving information. I usually feel like those are the first people you want to fact check. But for some reason, for the more of the population, they think that because it comes from some obscure source that it must be true. And I think it all starts with I started actually watching some of the Q stuff that these guys were watching because I kept getting sent it from a lot of people that we probably all know as
Right.
well, that really bought into it, and very intelligent people, not dumb people.
Right.
Like some of these people, like I looked at, like, yo, you're a really intelligent person. How would you not question this? And what I saw was any propaganda that you spread out, it always begins with everything you've learned is wrong. Everything
Right.
you've believed is not true. And what you think you see, you don't see. And it's a very uh, almost what's the word I'm looking for? It's a very dangerous path to go down, because if everything I believe is wrong and everything I'm seeing is not what I'm seeing, then what is it? And it opens they once they're open to that, anything that that person says now becomes fact, and it doesn't have to be fact checked, because how is it going to be fact checked? By what source? Because every other source is wrong. So the
But I
only
think
source that is right is Q.
right, but I think also what helps fuel it is so many of the trusted news sources are completely full of shit.
Right.
So it's hard to say, because I totally get what you're saying. Like you're asserting something that nobody has any viable means whereby they can disprove it. So
Right.
it's kind of dumb to even talk about it. Like if I don't know the origin of that photo, right now if somebody comes along and says, "Yeah, that's my daughter. She was in a car accident," well then the issue's over. But if we never have that kind of clarity and you put that out there as, Hillary ate, this child ate her face off.
I got a lot of
um
questions.
I got
I,
a
I
lot of
I
questions.
mean, right, but even still, I mean, I voted for Hillary Clinton because I really was pretty upset with the Republicans and the Bush administration and what they had done with
Right.
Iraq and all that fuckery and needless wars. Even
Facts.
though Obama, wasn't necessarily much better on the war front, but I was just like, yo, Trump's not a serious dude. Hillary Clinton, all the shit. I didn't like her Clinton Global Initiative. Obviously, that's just a money laundering operation, and influence peddling is nothing good from that. Nobody gives a fuck about you that much to give you $500,000 to come talk for an hour. Stop it. Stop it.
Right. Right.
It's open bribery. But when I was reviewing it, I couldn't understand the hatred, but I wasn't even a little bit in tune with the Q movement or any of that other stuff or those realms of the internet and the shit they were talking about. So I'm just she was an attorney, and I think she had something to do with like helping disabled kids like get to school. Like I don't know that she's this horrible. Um, but then when you start going through those down those rabbit holes of people that are on board with that ideology, there is like an unreasonable um an unreasonable fixation, or like the immediate go-to is always an extreme. Like and it doesn't necessarily have to be that. Like Hillary Clinton could be a shitty person, she could be a corrupt person, there could really be this machinery behind the scenes where it doesn't matter who the president is. The CIA has pretty much been running the show since Kennedy got killed. Like all that shit could be true without her eating babies.
Right.
That's why I never understood, like, even from a PR perspective of the movement, like if you're on board with that movement, if you were trying to get more people on board, it would just seem like some of those crazy things, like especially if they can't be proven. Like if you got a video and she's eating the baby, there's the before and after shot of the girl when she had a face, then she's with Hillary Clinton and they're both smiling, and then she doesn't have a face. Okay, all
Right.
right,
Yeah.
I got at least
Anything.
some kind of chain of custody for the events. She was wearing the same shirt. She's got a face in this picture. She's with Hillary Clinton. Then she doesn't have a face. That tells me a lot more than just, okay, she doesn't have a face. So it's got to be because Hillary Clinton ate it off. And it's like there can be all of this high level government corruption. There could absolutely be coordination of these very powerful interests. There absolutely could be a cabal of individuals who are hell bent on keeping us in perpetual war, keeping people as these little warring factions, destabilizing, the Middle East for profit. All of those things could absolutely be true. I don't know where the baby eating stuff came in. I don't
There's
know where we
already
got into.
evidence.
Well,
There's
because
already
people don't
evidence for
care about.
everything you just said.
Yeah, exactly. There's already, but nobody cares about policy. Nobody cares about the wars. They say they do, but they don't.
Right.
But everybody wants to save the babies.
Political corruption. Political corruption doesn't matter because most people know that if they were in that position, they would also take the bribes.
Listen, we got blockbuster movies
Uh,
of corruption in the government, and we just watch it like it's entertainment instead of and we pass by the fact that because it's entertainment because we know it's true. They don't care about that, but they do care about saving the babies.
A little bit more, they
Yeah,
or at least they want to be publicly seen as the people who care about saving the babies.
exactly,
You know what I'm saying?
exactly.
But so
well,
and everything else doesn't matter because this has been a theory of mine for a long time is that people they don't want to really dismantle the system of corruption and shit like that. They just want their turn.
yeah, they want to be at the. They want the reins of power.
Right.
They don't
So
want the
I think
machine to
that's
change.
why people don't aren't outraged about money in politics and are not outraged about this kind of shit because they still see themselves as one day becoming that billionaire. So they want to protect that system because they want to be on the other side of it one day. And we've seen that type of behavior before when we had a talk with Eugene when he was talking about, trying to protect the concept that he holds of money being worthless. So when you're talking to him about one thing, he doesn't want to admit that this is okay or whatever because he's protecting this idea of money being worthless. So if you're protecting the idea of I would take that fucking bribe too, why would you help tear down a system where people can take bribes?
Exactly.
Well,
It's
this
ridiculous.
Q shit's not over.
No, it
Well,
just
it's not
started.
over for the people
It's
who are within it, but everybody else thinks it's over.
cause okay, cause this is the thing. Um, I try not because obviously allowed myself to go to extremes as a younger man. I try to be more sober minded in my thinking now. Like, okay, something could be fishy, but I'm not necessarily going to draw that conclusion, right? But there is something to be said that's a little weird that that we did have 25,000 troops in DC and that they're
Hmm.
still trying to impeach this dude even though it's impeach and remove, he's not in office. What is the point of this? And it's because they never want him to be able to run for office again. So
Correct.
it does seem a little, I mean, just a smidget odd. It's a little odd that after everything that's gone down, that they're still like in this, like really defensive balls to the wall mode. Not to say that Trump's really the president. He's the president, the office of the former president elect, because that's the new thing going around. He's in Mar-a-Lago with a bunch of like I don't know, high level military dudes, and they're coordinating recapturing the White House. That's what the story is now.
That's just disgusting. It's
Right.
fucking disgusting,
Right.
bro. It's disgusting. I feel I've heard a few hilarious things. I think if you
but
still are plugged,
But you don't think Nancy Pelosi saying, let's get some manned machine guns, some mounted machine guns at the Capitol and 25,000 troops, that you don't think that lends itself to fueling those conspiracy theories? Because that's kind of some crazy shit to do
Well,
over a couple of wackos running in and taking selfies in Nancy
well,
Pelosi's.
I don't know if you want to say a couple of wackos. It was what was that? A few thousand. It seemed like psychopaths. A couple of them were goofy and doing dumb shit, but a couple of those motherfuckers also had a hip full of zip ties too. Like, who
right.
knows if the situation had presented itself? We know how groupthink is and how mob activity works. Maybe they went there, aloof. And well, I can't even say they were aloof. These motherfuckers all flew there to do exactly what they did. They went to get busy. They went to get busy. And it seemed like they didn't really want any trouble because they felt like the people who they had to get past were on their side anyway. Because remember, this is the Blue Lives Matter crowd. So they
Right.
didn't go there to fuck the cops up like it would have been if it was a leftist rally. They hate the cops, right? So they would have went there trying to kick the cops' ass. These people were trying to reason with the cops. They were like, "Yo, do your job. You're supposed to uphold your oath and shit like that." So they kind of felt like they were in league with them. So they didn't want to hurt them. So maybe the cops sympathized with them and let them. I don't know how they got in there like that because I did see some cops opening some fences and shit. But they went in there because they were angry at the system, and they may have went in there to fucking throw papers in the air and tip over file cabinets. But who knows what would have happened if AOC would have fucked around and been in there and they got their hands on her. In that situation, shit could have went real bad real fast.
Facts.
Especially if son he had zip ties, bro. Maybe it looked cool on the hip. He could have been one of those weirdos who was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna put these there to make it look good," or he also could have been 100% prepared to fucking kidnap somebody. We don't know.
And I would be more open to believe that if there wasn't precedent set. So after those people got killed, after David Dorn got shot, where was the 25,000 troops? Where was the fortifying green zones?
Right.
I mean, they literally burned down Portland the entire fucking year.
Oh yeah,
just
absolutely.
Every single day, no sort of military response. But the first time, so you're talking about, there was basically one Christy Mack beaten every day for the entire year. Okay, and then on one day, you ain't do shit all year. And then one day, she just gets a single gut punch. She's not beaten. It's just a single gut punch.
Right.
Obviously still horrible. Obviously still illegal. Obviously still warrants some kind of response. But the response you give to that single gut punch is magnitudes of order above anything you've done the entire year for higher body counts and higher property damage. Right. That's why I don't buy it. I don't buy it.
And just a higher level of maliciousness overall. Like, as goofy as it was, these Trumpers were trying to reason with the cops. You know, they was like, "Come on, bro. You know this government's corrupt. Come on, bro." But if you look at the shit that was happening with the left, that they're spitting in cops' faces, and there was no trying to reason at all. They fucking hate them.
And don't get me wrong. I don't doubt for a second that there could have been people within that group where somebody could have potentially been in some serious peril, right? But the reality is nothing happened. No, right. Nobody. Originally, there was a report that a cop was beaten to death with a fire extinguisher, but then the family came out and said, "Nah, that's untrue. He died of a heart attack."
Right. So, and I saw the footage of the fire extinguisher too. The fire extinguisher being thrown is what they were saying was the guy getting beat to death, and it was the equivalent of force of a fire extinguisher sitting on the table and you pushing it off the table.
I also think that the fact that they went in the Capitol is the difference here. Like, there's difference in going into a building and going into a government building to overthrow a process that's going on for an election.
Yeah,
there's a greater gravity there. The intention is different there.
And yeah, I agree.
And one action is criminal and another action is treasonous. And I think that's what they're trying to define. Was it treasonous? And if it was treasonous, that's a bigger problem. I mean, we're talking about a gang of people that all went crazy over things they can't prove and actually stormed the Capitol. That's a pretty big deal.
Things that they couldn't prove, but also things that were never allowed an opportunity to be examined.
But that's not true. But that's not true, because even the voting, even when they said that there was voter fraud, all these courts were throwing out cases. How many cases
they were given? Do you know why they were throwing out those cases?
That's the question. Do you know what were the details and why were the cases being thrown out?
From what I saw, most of the cases, I didn't look at all of them, but from what I started seeing, because I started in the beginning watching the first few, and then I was just like, whatever, this is getting old. But from what I saw, a lot of the cases were being thrown out because they didn't have enough evidence. Because all the evidence was showing the other way, or they weren't showing anything that was substantial enough for them to go, okay, let me look at this.
So a lot of the cases were dismissed for either standing or latches. They're either saying you weren't sufficiently injured, or you can't show that you were injured. This has nothing to do with you, or okay, you should have filed it sooner. But on some of the cases, there was one in Pennsylvania specifically where they said, yeah, you would totally win on the merits, and it wasn't allowed to be escalated up. So in one of the cases, if they would have filed it ahead of time, they would have said, well, the election hasn't happened, so you don't have any standing. You can't sue for something, because their argument was, these laws are fundamentally changing the way that the elections are done. And technically, based on the Constitution, only the state legislatures can make any changes to the
Yeah.
way that the voting happens. But there were, in all of those questionable states, huge sweeping changes made by either the governor or judges. So technically, by the letter of the law and the Constitution, they were never allowed to. Now, the argument can be, well, because it was done in an unconstitutional way, do we just throw out the elections? So I get the argument that would it have changed enough that there would be no, that it would actually be sufficient to change the election. But there was evidence presented in the Senate hearing that shows that there absolutely would in Wisconsin and Nevada without any question. As far as the number of dead voters, the number of people that voted more than once, the number of ballots that were illegally harvested, the number of people that claimed indefinite confinement in an illegitimate way, their ballots legally should not have counted. So there were legitimate things to be examined that were never examined, and which the media continued to say the entire time, there's nothing here. There's like a fucking Jedi mind trick. The droids you're looking for are not here. They're not here. And so, yeah, those people that were paying attention, they were like, wait a minute. You motherfuckers said for 4 years, this dude was a Russian agent since the 80s. When he was doing Pizza Hut commercials, he was meeting with fucking Boris Yeltsin and strategizing how to be a sleeper agent for Russia. Like, y'all said that endlessly, and it was never considered rhetoric that was incitement. But now these people have all these statistical anomalies and hardcore evidence that's undeniable. It's undeniable that changes were done in an unconstitutional way. We can argue about whether or not it would be appropriate to change the election results or to throw out election results because it was questionable. That's a different argument. But they never even let it get to that phase. They were basically just saying, yo, there's absolutely nothing to see here, which was 100% not true. So I understand those people's perspectives of being so frustrated, of saying, hey, you guys have been talking all this big shit without any proof for years, and the media's been echoing it. Now we're showing actual hardcore data, not some dossier from some dude in Britain saying that he was paying hookers to piss on mattresses, right? This is some shit like, yeah, there's statisticians. There's people that were poll workers. There's thousands of affidavits were signed. Here's the actual voter logs. None of these people live in this state anymore. All these 44,000 people voted more than once. Here's the evidence. Nah, nothing to see here.
But I think that's my issue with it is because for me, words are important. To say undeniable, to say 100% fact, to say any of those things means that you yourself went there and checked it in person and made sure that that is factual. And neither of us can say that. We can debate it here, but apparently, according to the courts in those specific states, they disagree with that right there. They're the ones who we had that were elected were elected in those positions to make those decisions, and they alone see what all that evidence is and all that paperwork, and they disagree. So just like anything else, you have to allow the states to make their decisions.
Check this out, though. Check this out. What we specifically saying about this one thing, and this happened multiple times throughout this process. So I saw with my own eyes the video on YouTube of Rudy Giuliani in court. I don't remember what state it was. I can probably find it, but he's asking the other guy who's in control of that state and the voting whole procedure. He's asking him questions under oath in court. And this is obviously to see if the lawsuit or whatever is going to move forward. Okay. He asked the guy, is it true that, I'm going to say an arbitrary number here, but it was in the tens of thousands for sure. Is it true that 11,000 people voted more than once? And the dude said yes. And then he asked him, is it true that this 8,000 votes came from addresses and the addresses are vacant lots? And the guy said, yes, that's true. He admitted to 3 or 4 of these completely damning questions, and that lawsuit didn't go through because of some type of filing error or some shit like that. So this is not them saying your voter fraud is we can't prove it and there's no evidence of voter fraud. The dude admitted to 11,000 people voting more than once, and that lawsuit didn't move forward.
Well, let me ask you a question. Did Giuliani ask if those votes were counted twice as well, or did he just ask if that was something that existed? Period. Because the questioning matters, and the lawyers question things that way for a reason, to paint a narrative, and they won't ask certain questions to paint the same narrative. Did he ask if those were counted twice?
That's absolutely fair. But the thing is what you're right now, the standard that you're employing is absolutely reasonable, right? It's the standard that should be applied across the board. We should be asking more questions. We should have a high bar for truth. We should want to get to the nuance and the nitty gritty of the actual information versus how it's being framed by both sides to try to prove their point, right? But the problem is, but the problem is, this is a totally separate standard of truth for the media that just has all of a sudden come up. That's where we're going to run into the problem. If we had that standard of proof the whole time, when Stacey Abrams said the election was stolen from her, when Hillary Clinton said that Donald Trump was illegitimate and he really didn't win, when Nancy Pelosi with the impeachment shit on basically for the same thing that Joe Biden did, right? Or the same thing that was being done. They were talking to foreign leaders before they were actually inaugurated. Michael Flynn did the same thing. And all that proof came out that, yeah, the FBI targeted him, threatened his son. So it's like, okay, for all of those things that were really just at this point, complete bullshit. If we were to line up the amount of evidence for voter fraud in the 2020 election versus the amount of Russian influence on Donald Trump in the 2016 election, it's not even close. There's way more impropriety in the 2020 election. But the way the media continued to amplify that narrative in 2016 and the way they completely dismissed it in 2020, the news is supposed to be, most people have other shit to do. They got kids to raise, they got jobs to work. We're relying on you to do your job, go and look into this shit that we don't have the time to look into, and come back and tell us what you found, right? That's their job. When people see that such a disparate set of standards were employed in 2016 versus 2020, it just adds to their certainty. So then they could say, okay, if you're going to ignore 44,000 people voting more than once and say that there's no evidence, and the media repeated that without end, there is no evidence. Not saying there's not enough evidence to overturn the election. There is no evidence. But at no point did they ever say, you know what, Donald Trump, he's probably fucked some hookers and he probably did pay bitches to piss on a mattress, but there's no evidence. They never said there's no evidence, even though there was no evidence. Somebody just wrote it down. Now, here's where they're coming with hardcore data. Yeah, these addresses don't exist. They brought up addresses that just straight up don't exist, and they say, nah, that's no evidence at all. So when people see that the news is employing such disparate standards for assessing one situation and the other, then it's not a far leap for them to go, well, shit, if y'all are lying about Trump being a Russian agent and y'all are lying about there being no election fraud, then y'all probably are committing a coup. Y'all probably are eating babies with senators. That shit is probably all going down.
You know what's crazy is that there was a law that there was a certain point. I don't know. Remember this? Maybe you guys know. But the news used to have to just report the news. And in the last, I want to say the last 20 years or so, there was a law that was either removed or added that allowed them to insert their own bias and their own narrative. I think it was something that was repealed that allowed them then the function where they can not just have to do the news, but now they can do entertainment.
I know what you're talking about.
So there's like a big difference from like the 70s and 80s when we watch the news to now. Now there is a narrative being painted on either side. If you watch Newsmax, you watch CNN, you watch Fox, you get a whole different narrative each one you watch, because they paint their own pictures. And now they're not held accountable for that. They used to be. And now they don't have to. And laws like that Why were they repealed? You know, the media is extremely biased, so you can't really take everything the media says, and I agree with that. But it's on all sides. I mean, it's just this push from all sides to just paint a narrative. They've been able to do that for a while now.
Yeah.
It's super irresponsible, and I think it lends itself to these people feeling justified,
Hmm.
to where they really felt like, um, if you're going to dismiss this clear evidence of voter impropriety, it's undeniable evidence. You're never giving it its time to be thoroughly examined. They were even at the point where Trump was still the president, and they would cut away from Trump speaking. That's never happened before, where the news just refused to let the president speak directly to the people via that a newscast. So for those people, um, if that's true, then it's not a far leap for everything else to be true. So maybe there is a coup going on, where really it could just be, Donald Trump was a threat to the establishment. Republicans and Democrats have a gravy train set up by being connected with certain things that he had the potential to undermine, and it was in their best interest to make sure that he wasn't reelected. I totally get that. That could be all that there is. But if you're going that far to distort reality, you're creating an environment at that point where these people are going to feel like desperate crusaders that have no choice. Like,
Yeah.
we have the truth. We're the only ones that can save the country. There's obviously a coup going on. We have to do it. Like, you're riling them up. And not only
It's
that,
gaslighting. It's
but
gaslighting.
it's
Yeah.
total gaslighting. But you're also getting to the point now where they were talking on MSNBC about, yo, we need to start droning American citizens like Anwar al-Awlaki. We need to bring that shit back. If we have some terrorists, local terrorists, we need to go ahead and wipe them out. And again, I would be all for that if you were doing the same thing against Antifa and Black Lives Matter. If you were saying, well, these are people obviously organized, their signs were immaculate. They showed up, they got on flights, they the same people you'd see in different
Different
cities.
cities. Yep.
Right. So there was an organized effort to undermine law and order in the United States. So those people, if you own a business like that lady that was screaming, crying in New York, like, I can't believe they did this to me, her livelihood and her business was destroyed. That lady feels like it was crystal knock. That lady feels like she was a victim of terrorism because people, for no fucking reason, she's a black woman, so it had nothing to do with black people being defended or uplifted. You destroyed her ability to feed herself and her family for what? That didn't make a point, but nobody was ever deemed a domestic terrorist for setting shit on fire, for shooting cops, running over cops in Philadelphia, setting a federal building on fire. Those are all fucking acts of insurrection.
Hmm.
Those are all things undermining the rule of authority in the United States. And at not one point did the FBI say, we need to start targeting these people who are showing up in city to city in an organized way and burning shit down. I mean, if that's not an organized act of insurrection and rebellion, I don't know what is. But a handful of idiots run up into the Capitol one time, and I think you hit the nail right
That's
on
not
the
a.
head. It's because that's where they are. So
Hmm.
they didn't give a fuck when it was happening to um people's businesses. They didn't
Right.
give a fuck that it happened into some federal building in Portland. But you're coming to where we all agree to operate in unison in our sacred right of thieving from the country and fucking people over unabated. Oh, now we're gonna bring out the troops. Now we're gonna have 25,000 motherfuckers with armed
Hmm.
mounted machine guns. And it is like, okay, I don't agree with what they did, but I totally understand it. I totally understand why they felt they had no choice. And the media is continuing to rile them up. And now they're talking some crazy shit about, you want to start droning American citizens. Like, you motherfuckers have lost your minds.
AOC retweeted a guy who said that we should be making a list of people who
Yes.
supported Trump throughout his whole, anybody who supported Trump throughout his whole presidency, we should be making a list of those people and punishing them, meaning making sure they get
Wow.
fired, fucking up their livelihood.
This is
They
some
can't have bank
Nazi shit,
accounts. You
dude.
can't use fucking PayPal.
AOC's crazy.
And she
AOC's
didn't write
crazy.
it. She didn't write it, but she retweeted it. Now imagine, I mean, like you already know, like you said, she's crazy. But imagine if somebody on the right had said, we need to make, we need to make a list of all the people who wanted to vote for Bernie Sanders or some shit like that. And that would have been a Nazi narrative immediately. People
Yeah.
would have said Hitler, they would have said everything. But since she did it on this side, on, quote unquote, this side, then it's acceptable and nobody's talking about it.
Well,
It's like the
Listen,
disrespect. It's
I'll
fun.
tell you what. I think Biden's gonna have more problems with AOC than the rest of these people.
I think
She's
so.
crazy.
Yeah,
she's
she's
crazy.
off. Yeah, she's a little off, dude.
Well,
She's a
I
little
think
off.
I think the problem is that we have a particular set of vigilance and scrutiny for certain people, but for other people we don't apply that same level of scrutiny, and they know it and they get away with that game. That's why usually if there's some like ridiculous right wing shit that they want to get past, they do it under a Democratic president. If there's some crazy left wing shit, like they always talk about spending. Nobody spends more than under a Republican president. Like nobody. So if they want to get some crazy shit done that's against their party, so you want to go to war, you want to blow people up, it's harder to do with a Republican president. You could do that easier with a Democratic president. So it's just a game of distracting people's attention, but she will obviously it's gonna come to a head because Biden's gonna have to decide how far he wants to go with some of the extreme leftist ideology that's been espoused.
He's gonna have a hard time with that. He's very centrist.
He is, and he pretended like he was a left-wing extremist to just be in line with the modern rhetoric to get elected. But and I think that's what people were banking on. It's like he'll be middle of the road, so he seems like a safe choice. But I mean, even with the fact that the way that the media has been writing about him, like they can't suck his dick aggressively enough. Like it's just they're all over that shit. They fucking I haven't seen and I checked the news. I'm like, yo, is anybody gonna have some negative shit? And then the worst insult was like a week after the election, they were like, yo, that Hunter Biden laptop shit that we told you was a hoax. Yeah, that shit was real.
Well, when you say the media though, for me, like the media is all the media, and I see people saying if you watch Newsmax, One American News, Fox, any of them, they got a lot to say about Biden. I think it's their stabs going both ways.
They do, but the problem is that anybody that needs to know about that, who needs to be informed, they're not going to hear that because most people only go to their echo chamber for information.
Yeah.
Like if you're autistic like myself, you're gonna go to everything. You're gonna go to every source because you want to know. You want to know what everybody's saying.
Yeah,
and probably
exactly.
somewhere within that amalgamation of fuckery, you can extract a nugget of truth of probably what's going on. Because you're right. Everybody's presenting it with an agenda.
And think about this too. Think about how difficult it is to do what you just said, to actually look at everything from both sides. No, think about it.
People got shit to do.
It's not that hard.
No, not even that. No, not even that. I'm outside of people having shit to do. The algorithm will decide for you. If you watch
really care about this.
Right, if you watch one pro-Trump video just to get a gist of what people are saying, and then you Google a phrase, the search results that you see next are going to lean towards what it think you are. It's not going to just show you it down the middle. It's going to decide with what other videos you're watching, what other Google searches you've done, which information should be the most relevant according to what I think this person wants to see. So if you have historically been pro-Trump, but then you start to change your mind, it's going to be objectively harder for you to find anti-Trump information on the internet.
Right.
You have to purposely go to the other side.
You have to already know where it is because Googling it might not show it to you. Yeah. You have to get a link from somebody to send you directly to something and then start to see. So it's not as easy as just saying, let me look at both sides, because you've already decided for the algorithm where you stand in this conversation, and it's going to feed you exactly that.
Yeah, the internet has become thought management.
Yeah.
That's it.
For sure. Oh yeah, and I think it may. I don't know. I don't know how sinister the shit goes, but it may have been to streamline, like somewhere down the line, it might have been honestly about streamlining people's search results. So if you search for Long John Silver, you're more likely to get a restaurant than the fucking story that this guy was based on from the 1920s. It's like I'm not looking for a Wikipedia page about the actual guy. I want to know where the restaurant is closest to my house. So they want to streamline this experience for you, but that got deeper and deeper and deeper into their AI algorithm. And now there's going to be certain shit that you can't even find. And who leaves the first two pages of Google search results? Who clicks page 4 in Google search results?
Sometimes I do, and I don't
Sometimes,
like
yes.
it.
A
I
lot of
don't
people
Right.
do
enjoy
See,
it.
sometimes.
that's what I'm
But
saying.
but
These guys do,
you're
right?
onto it.
These,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
the
but we're
average
also not
person,
watching the Super Bowl.
right? So
So
that
it's
tells you everything you know about us. But the average person, they only know the first page. They probably don't even scroll down far enough to see the other numbers.
Right.
And if this is what you're getting, that's not even an honest representation of the information that's available on the internet.
No, it's just relevant to who you are, what you searched, what you clicked on, what you've liked, what you've
Yep.
shared. And just kind of you hit on something that was important is for me, just being in the world that I am, with web, I don't believe there was anything sinister to it to begin with. Do I think that there's people that realized, oh shit, there's a whole bag of data and information on a population that we can use? Do I doubt that would be somebody would come up with that in the middle of it? Maybe so, but I don't believe that the intention is sinister, really.
Mm.
When we go on the web and search for things, I think it is just that the algorithm goes to who we are and what we search for. The data itself, where it goes from there, that's really the question.
You know what is sinister though? If you Google happy white woman, you get a bunch of pictures of white women in interracial relationships. And that's pissing white males off right now. And I didn't believe him at first because it's the same thing with if you Google beautiful woman, it's going to be mostly white people. And I've seen black women and black people complain about this and the racism in the algorithm. But then I saw happy white woman and it was a bunch of white chicks with black dudes and brown babies and shit. I was like, yo, somebody's fucking trying to trigger somebody right now on purpose. I don't know why. I don't know if this is part of starting the race war or something, but that shit seems pretty sinister to me.
No, I just think you know what I think
I don't know, bro.
you know what I think it is. I think the porn searches are dominating the algorithms right now. That's what it is.
Maybe.
It
But
might
why
be.
would a happy white woman just show like a chick laying in the bed with a black dude?
They say interracial porn is a big thing, man. This is like a big moneymaker.
So somewhere behind the scenes, interracial porn and white female happiness
It
are
it
connected.
it might be messing up the algorithm, man. I'm telling you.
I could definitely see where cis white males would be pissed off with that though. I could see how that
Yeah.
could make somebody angry.
Hey, it is what it is. Oh man, that's funny.
It's fucked up, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like you
I
said,
did this Google search right now. I'm looking through. I'm like, yeah, it does. It actually does.
and like I
Yeah.
said, the web, you know the back end of that shit, but from the front end, you can see to where this would seem sinister a little bit,
Yeah.
like it's
But I
social
can also
engineering.
but I can
and
also
and
see
it,
I
it
can
it could
also
be
see how
something.
technically it can happen.
It could be totally innocent. It could be totally innocuous, but when it's coupled with all the other things,
Right,
it just
right,
feeds into that paranoia.
It does.
yeah.
So I understand where the sentiment comes. I can't go all the way down the rabbit hole with them, but I understand why they feel the way that they feel.
I agree. Yeah, I get
Is
you.
is definitely like, yo, you're not allowed to dunk. Like you can't, like anything that's associated with tradition has to be handicapped. There has to be a caveat. It's like being used to really diminish um any kind of achievement that's associated with anything traditional. Like you're a happy woman. How are you a happy woman? You can't be happy in any kind of traditional way. You can't be in a
Right, right.
traditional family. You got to be happy in
'Cause that's
some,
white
like your
supremacy.
career. Right. It's
That's white
associated.
supremacy.
Right. It's some kind of, but that's the umbrella that everything's stuffed under, to excuse, to excuse kind of taking it down a peg,
Yeah.
that's what it's all about. It's like I kind of feel shitty. I need you to feel a little bit shitty. So what can I do? And then it is hard to feel sorry for white men, because it's like it hasn't been a huge struggle in America. Everybody struggles, right? But there's no like historic narrative of the white struggle in America for like white people to bind to, or to have, to gain strength or camaraderie or brotherhood through. So now it's starting to kind of happen because more and more people are kind of feeling like they're under attack. Like, so anything traditional and white is like, it's low key considered evil. And so if you don't think it's evil, right, then you're not sufficiently woke. So you got to either agree that it's evil, or there's something wrong with you. So for social pressures, most people will just agree, like, yeah, that's kind of evil. That's kind of evil, right? And so these people who aren't really kind of ashamed or don't subscribe to that ideology, they feel like there's some sort of grand conspiracy going down.
It seems like there is, if you, like you said, if you factor in enough information and you
Yeah.
look at enough corners of the internet, if somebody collates the information for you and lays it out point by point, I think personally, every group and subgroup in this country would have a legitimate argument that they're
Absolutely. But
under
it
attack.
but isn't that how every single conspiracy theory works? It takes a whole bunch of things that are pretty much true, and then ties them into a narrative that
Yeah,
isn't
Right.
necessarily connected.
right.
Exactly. And that's the problem, is then you can create the narrative. Listen, I've been very tempted into, becoming like Z or something on the internet, and just doing it and just documenting it, just for kicks, just to see what happens. And I can guarantee you, I can spin a narrative that people will start spreading. And if enough people believe it, and then just come out at the end and be like, yo, I was just playing. I was
Yeah,
just
that's
playing.
the crazy part about it.
But is that
Everybody
cruel?
could. Every
But is
group
that
could.
cruel?
Nope, not if the information itself is true.
Yeah.
If you're just sending out pictures of hurt babies and saying Hillary did it, that's a
Yeah, but what
different
if I can connect
situation.
the dots? What if I can connect the
Connect
dots with
them.
little bits of true information
Connect them
that,
as much as
that
they're allowed to be connected, and let's see what conclusion we come to. If
Listen,
the information is true, then I think any dots that can be connected to it without too much, I mean, without too much bullshit, of course. Like, you could just be like, well, this footprint was outside Hillary Clinton's house, and only 300 pair of these shoes were made. 150 of them went to the Eastern Seaboard. Like, that kind of shit is getting a little goofy. But if you can really point and show who's doing what type of information they're putting out, and the effect that it's having on a group of people, that I think that's fair. And I think the underlying idea to grab a hold of here is that if you can make a folder for every group of people in America and show where they're possibly being attacked, or there's a social engineering program aimed at them, they're trying to get you to react in a certain way to a certain situation by fucking with your emotions and gaslighting you, that means there's a group of people targeting all of us while we target each other.
right,
And we can grow from learning who's doing what to us, and that it's not just us, because we feel alone in this shit. Like, black people feel like it's just us, and sometimes people who are Latino or whatever feel like it's just them. Y'all don't understand what we going through. And then white
right,
people saying, yo, why everybody looking at us now, saying we're evil? My family didn't own any slaves. And like, everybody's feeling all this tension, but none of us is saying, wait a minute, how come all of us are feeling this, but we're not finding any camaraderie in it? We're not finding no reason to join together and figure out
right?
who's doing this shit to us.
Aren't we
right,
all under attack at that point?
Yeah, by
Right.
who? Now we get to all figure it out together. We got this collective consciousness working on it. A huge
right,
fucking neural network trying to figure, because if we only look at our own problems, not only will we not be aware of what other people are going through, but we'll also tend to dismiss the trauma that they might be experiencing, which
hmm,
makes them resent us personally. Now they don't resent the attack that they're under, they resent you for not taking it seriously. And this conflict is fucking us up. Everybody's suffering. Everybody. There's no group in this country that's not suffering. You can't say white men aren't suffering because I can show you a dude downtown Pasco County living behind a Dunkin' Donuts with no fucking shoes. And he's a
Right.
white man. So, I mean, you know what I'm saying? So it's deeper than just the color, the gender. There's something else going on here, and we're just not seeing it because we all mad at each other.
And I absolutely advocate bringing that to people's attention through trolling. So BZ, come up with the narrative, and you're going to be more righteous than the others because at the end of it, you're like, I conducted this little social experiment just so you guys could see how easily we can be manipulated. So please do not storm the Capitol. There's no need.
It could be
Yeah.
powerful. Imagine getting a bunch of white supremacists riled up because they think, you know, you've showed them the happy white woman image search and shit, and like they're all pissed off. And then some kind of way you find a way to integrate them into the idea that black people are being targeted the same way. And there's somebody. It's like when you take the two fucking chickens in a cockfight and you rile them up and then you just drop them in front of each other. We should be looking at the people who are riling us up, who built the cages, they're betting on the
Right.
fights. It's not about
Right.
the other chicken, bro. There's something else. There's something bigger going on here, obviously. And a person who can collect the data and drive a narrative, if they cared enough, it would be like a fucking caravan. You driving, you got black people in, and then you get to the next stop and you put a bunch of white people in, and they're like, oh shit, we going to the same place? Yeah, I had no idea. Let's keep driving. See who else we pick up. You could drive that narrative far enough to by the end of it, you have everybody's trying, at least attempting, people from all the different groups attempting to set their differences aside and figure out who's targeting us as a whole. And that's where the power is.
And I like that. And I like that. The problem that we're at today is that somebody's doing that, but for all the wrong reasons.
See, and that's why we need a counter.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we need a counter narrative. I said a long time ago on Facebook when people were complaining, it was the Super Bowl. Ironically, it's hilarious. Beyonce was performing at the Super Bowl, and she had a ring on it that had a goat's head. And everybody was all over social media talking about the Baphomet and evil and the goat's head and shit like that. So I was like, look, you got two choices here. Either you immediately learn magic and start doing some counter spells, or you admit that none of this shit is real and shut the fuck up about it.
Right.
What are we talking about? What are we talking about? If you think she's doing magic and she's trying to you know, turn you over to the devil, what are you gonna do? You're just gonna sit there and talk about it, or are you gonna get you a fucking eye of newt and toe of toe? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, that's good.
Yeah,
That's good.
throw the
That's
bones,
good.
or shut up about it
Draw
because
out the
magic's not real.
pentagram, do what you got to do. Counter that spell.
So in this case, I think we need counter spells. I think people who have the ability, because not everybody can dig and has the mind to be able to connect those dots and form that web of information, because it can't be too simple. It can't be like Hillary did it. Like, you got to make this shit deep enough so those people with that consciousness will click through all the pages and highlight and Google search and all that shit. And if it's true and they're really coming back to good information, that's a narrative that needs to be driven. Somebody's targeting all of us, and we're all so selfish and caught up in our own lives and trauma and situations that we don't see that it's happening to everybody, not just us.
Right. No, that's true. And I can't wait for the day that either Umar Johnson or Farrakhan gets up there and starts talking about how pumpkin spice was the greatest trickery that the white man ever committed.
It's true.
I'm just waiting.
It's true. It's true. Oh, this is some lore. Just to catch you up, just in case you didn't know, or anybody who doesn't listen, just to catch you up. This is some lore that we figured out in the podcast, that pumpkin spice is one of the clearest, most blatant examples of white supremacy. Okay? Because pumpkin spice, right? Because pumpkin is a gourd that nobody gives two shits about. Nobody gives a fuck about a pumpkin, bro. Pumpkin spice is actually a collection of other spices, mostly brown ones, that make pumpkin taste acceptable. It's cinnamon, it's brown sugar, it's all this good shit that we love. But why did they name it pumpkin though? Why does the pumpkin get top billing? Nobody wants pumpkin by itself, but something with cinnamon in it is awesome. Cinnamon's great. Brown sugar's great. Fuck pumpkin. Why does it get top billing? It's because pumpkin is a symbol of white supremacy. And he's just outshining all the brown spices that we already love and taking credit for it.
Wow.
And the white man convinced the world when it gets cold, the weather that he likes, to all go out in mass and buy these worthless gourds.
Worthless.
Everybody just goes out and buys them.
Right.
Wow.
Worthless gourds that he grew with his fucking, his chosen genetic experiment that he was doing with all these random gourds, and he got this big orange one, right? And what do you even do with a pumpkin on when it's Halloween and pumpkin season comes around? You carve a face in it and you put it on your front porch to rot, right? So your neighbors have to look across the street and see this ugly faced gourd staring at them. So my good brother over here pointed out that the pumpkin, the jack-o'-lantern, is the original gas face. It's the original gas face. You're just making faces at your neighbors with a rotting gourd. But somehow, once a year, this fucking thing gets, dude, whoever makes pumpkin spice makes $400 million for 2 months a year with spices that are available all year round.
Pumpkin is selling its deliciousness on the backs of delicious brown ingredients.
Right.
It has no flavor.
None.
It has no flavor at all.
None. If I made an actual pumpkin flavored something, you take it as a personal attack.
Now, I guarantee you, if free bleeding and milk is white supremacy made it out into the real world, I guarantee you, if you chisel out that mythology precisely enough, that will absolutely start circulating as a story about white supremacy.
Yeah. I
And
guarantee
people,
you, as a personal experiment, I guarantee you, if you went to like you said, you've been on the 4chans and you've been on, if you use the knowledge that you have to seed this information into the population, it would be in Tariq Nasheed's next movie. It would be, it would be brother Umar. Umar would be on YouTube talking about how the pumpkin is white supremacy in no time. It would take less than 3 months. And they'd
I'm
be
saying.
talking about it like it was true.
Tariq Nasheed would interview him, and Umar Johnson would just be going on as if he's an expert about it, like he's
Right.
always known.
Let me tell you
It's
something
clear
about
as day.
pumpkin spice, brother. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I love it, dude. I think I've accepted it as the gospel truth. Nobody's
Oh,
ever
as
going
have
to be
I.
able to convince me that pumpkin spice is not a beacon of white supremacy.
Listen, when they came down the Caucasus Mountains, they came with their giant orange gourds, and they deceived the world. Like, if we can convince you that this is a holiday and that this is delicious, everything else is a drop in the hat at that point. It's easy. It's easy.
We got
And
to dismantle this shit, bro.
and I think at the end of it, when people finally come to the realization, oh my gosh, I've been had. This isn't true at all, but it felt truthy. And it spoke to my wound or why I'm upset and the shit that I'm focused on. And now it's just been demonstrated for me in real time how easily I can be misled because somebody knows how to tap into my energy with the right story. Maybe I need to be more conscious of that. And I
Right.
think it creates a teaching moment, and I was hoping that a lot of the people that were on this Q shit would just come to terms with, okay, we've been had. Like,
Right.
okay, guys, we've been had. He's not the president. Everything that they said was going to happen didn't happen. There's blockchain technology on all the ballots, man. They got them dead to rights. Like, no, I don't think that's true. I don't think that's how blockchain technology works. Is that it would be in the paper ballot, but I don't know. But no, people just want to. They're looking for their next pumpkin spice mythology story. They just
Right.
don't want to let it
We
go.
got him. We got this might be our guy to help us seed this shit into the consciousness of because the people who doing all this Q stuff, they're gonna need to fill a void soon. They're gonna need something else to chew on. And we could also use this to help us, crash the stock price of certain companies because because we could just create some kind of lore on the internet, drop the stock price, and then we buy it when it's low and then wait for them to figure it out. And when it goes back up, we make money. A perfect one would be Kit Kat.
Kit Kat.
Oh well,
Oh, I got
not Kit Kat. It was the Reese's Pieces. Not what's the Reese Cups? Reese Cups, 2 in a pack, right?
yeah, Reese's peanut butter cups.
Yeah, Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. The original name for Reese's Peanut Butter Cups was nigger buddies.
Oh wow.
Nigger
Bet you
buddies.
didn't. Bet you didn't know that.
Mm-mm.
He said, "Are you googling it right now?"
I'm about to.
Yeah, nigger buddies, right? Because it was two little Negroes in a package together, a little candy, two little niggers in a pack, and you buy you some nigger buddies. So that was the original name of Reese's peanut butter cups. As soon as you get that into 4chan for us, that'll
Yeah.
be yeah, it'll be technically some truth will be to it if you put, and I could even Photoshop some old some old packaging info to say nigger buddies to convince a few people. Because if Q can make people think Hillary Clinton killed a baby with just a picture of a hurt baby, I'm pretty sure we can convince people that
Listen,
this used to
and
be called nigger buddies.
and you just gotta couch it in enough truth, like the
Yeah.
ice cream song. Ha
Oh, right,
ha
right.
ha ha.
Nigga love a
You know,
watermelon.
right. So you just they used to cut and they used to sell these right out of the ice cream truck, and they were playing that song, and this is how they would brand a lot of their candies. And yeah, you could
Yeah.
convince everybody that all of these candy bars started with like super duper racist origins,
Yeah.
and then make
And
a
it's sad.
call for people to stop eating them. Like, yo, we need to stop. They're giving us all diabetes with the sugar. It all has racist origins. It tanks the stock price. Mars plummets in value. Hershey's plummets in value, and you buy it up for cheap. And then it comes out that it's a hoax, and then the price pumps right back up.
I love it. I love it.
Awesome.
Listen, if we can manipulate the stock market with half truths, I don't think I'd lose any sleep over that.
It's less evil than getting people to storm the Capitol.
This is
Facts.
objectively true. This is
Facts.
objectively true. So we got to come up with a how long do you think it would take to tank the stock price of Reese's with the nigger
Well,
buddies information?
well, who owns them? Is it Mars? Is it Hershey's? Let me look it up. Let me see the
Oh
parent
shit. See,
company.
this is the important legwork that has to be done when you want to crash the
Yeah.
stock price.
Right. Right.
I'm down,
I'm
bro.
telling you,
Listen.
it's crazy. I'm telling you, it's crazy. Did you guys see the there's a documentary on Vice. It's like a 3-part documentary on Q.
No. Not
Gotta
on
check.
Vice. I saw was it on Netflix? I think something was on Netflix, but it was pretty basic. It wasn't too deep.
No, you gotta go on Vice. And
Okay.
go Vice on Demand. You'll see there's like a 3-part documentary on Q and like who is Q and why does Q exist. They actually go pretty crazy into the whole storyline of how Q came about and actually backtracking through the stuff.
Right.
It's
Now, did
crazy.
this just start with any legitimacy, or was it really just somebody? Because, okay, one thing I did see that was kind of impressive to me, my homie told me about something with, I guess his name is James, maybe James Comey.
Mm-hmm.
So they said that Q made a post about corn, some shit
Mm-hmm.
about corn and blah 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 whatever, and nobody knew what it meant, what it had to do with. But then a government document came out with some trying to pass some bill, who knows what it was, but it had the guy's James Comey, his name in it several times, and every time his name was in the document, instead of it being spelled Comey, it was Corney, because like an R and an N
Yeah, corn.
together looks like corn. So this was supposed to be proof that Q either was or had control or contact with somebody who's deep into the government and was drawing up this paperwork and wrote his name as Corn throughout the whole thing on purpose. I thought
Mm-hmm.
that was pretty cool. It wasn't enough to convince me about adrenochrome and shit, but I thought that was pretty cool.
But
No, but
I
just
mean,
just for me, just like anything else. Oh my bad. Go ahead.
no, no, go ahead. Sorry about that.
For me, just like anything else, like you can create something that then resonates within a large group of people, and you can get somebody in government to look at that and go, wow, you've got control over 20 to 30 million people at a time. Why
Right.
wouldn't that interest a military
Okay.
personnel? You see what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
Or a
Right.
politician
Exactly.
or a media company, or you become valuable at that point.
Holy shit. I didn't even
I
think
mean,
about that.
I get a million people just going to my website. People are willing to pay money to have their banners on there. Think about that. There's a value in that.
Right. That's
And
amazing. I didn't even think about Q monetizing his power.
but I mean, has that not been? I mean, this is what I never thought, or I don't know why more people didn't think of. It's like, uh, the government used to print out false newspaper ads to defame the Black Panthers when they wanted to create
Right.
like a bad sentiment about them. Like,
Hmm.
why wouldn't you think like, okay, maybe the person does have military clearance. Maybe they don't have a Q level clearance, but maybe it is somebody from the government specifically out to give you disinformation. So they can give
Yeah.
you a couple of cryptic things that
Mm.
maybe line up here and there. I mean, even Nostradamus was right a couple of times, could just happenstance over a long enough period of time. Something cryptic you say could end up being something close enough that it's legit, or it could appear to be legit. But, how do you know it wasn't just something from the government from the very beginning designed to distract and give people disinformation? Because I'll tell you what, if people, because that Time article goes into these people coordinating to change election laws back in October of 2019. So it was way before the coronavirus shit even popped off. That was just used to even further solidify what they were going to do. But like, if any of those people following the Q shit were really paying attention, it's like when those laws were changing or being advocated to change back in 2019, why weren't the lawsuits starting then? You know what I
Right.
mean? Instead, everybody was like, yo, they're eating babies and Donald Trump is going to stop them. Donald
Right.
Trump is going to come on the white horse and chop everybody down and save the day. And it's right here. And I know this is real because he said something about corn and an official document misspelled James Comey as James Corny. So
Several times too.
what else do you want at this point? What more proof do you need?
Yeah. Yeah, when you line it up the right way, it does kind of feel like a nail in the coffin type shit. Like
Hmm.
it feels bigger than it actually is when you put it in context with everything else that's happening. That's madness though, bro. It's madness that you can get that many people whipped up to thinking that, there's some kind of, well, I guess also it's not even really thinking. They're just, it's distraction because we all know that there's bodies within the government that operate independent of laws and rules and shit like that. Just like on a team, even though all y'all on the same team, there could be a clique of 3 or 4 people that do their own thing when nobody else is looking or whatever. They protect each other. So, of course, that exists in the government. Why wouldn't there be internal conflict and shit like that, and people spying on each other? And of course, it would be more. It would be harder to believe for me that is not happening. But then you get somebody to paint it all together with a specific narrative and call them a cabal. The shit sounds interesting.
Yeah, it
It
does.
sounds really interesting, dude. I mean, it's a fucking fascinating story. I can't front. I don't I can't bite on it hook, line, and sinker and shit because as far as structure goes, I feel like they're mostly criminals anyway. So to
Right.
say that there's some kind of cabal of criminals within the government, I'm like, show me the ones that are not criminals.
Yeah, that is not a far reach. I mean, you're
Right.
pretty much giving me something that I've already felt for, generations.
Right, right. And these people are so surprised, like, I can't believe there's a shadow government. I'm like, our government is a shadow government. That's what ask any other country and see what
Yeah.
they do. How they destabilize shit and fucking. We literally take shipping containers full of guns and drop them off and leave them. That shit's happened several times. What do you think the outcome of leaving a shipping container full of guns in some poor ass country is?
Right.
You almost guarantee uh, a spike in drug use, murder, just everything. Even if they was doing it already and all they had was fucking machetes and they wasn't that organized or whatever. If you drop a shipping container full of M16s off, shit just changed. And we know this. We know this about our government. We know our government will go somewhere and fucking poison somebody, because they don't like his politics, and he's gonna raise the price on some commodity that we get from them. We know this is what they do. So why would anybody be surprised that this shit is happening internally and people are fucking bribing each other, blackmailing each other, or any of that? I don't understand why anybody would be surprised at that, except people who are blind patriots and they think that their government is awesome and whatever they do is fine.
But I think
Yeah.
that's where they fucked up is now those people don't like the government now either.
Right.
They don't like the police now either. They're like, yeah. So you didn't think it was fucked up when Gaddafi could have potentially destabilized the dollar from being the global currency, right? So he's trying to unify Africa under a different currency. So he got a bayonet up the ass live on camera.
Right.
Oh, you don't want to deal with our plan for the oil? No problem. So I think there's gonna be a coup in Iran. I think we're gonna have a little revolution over there. So yeah, we didn't like all of this shit, or maybe I should say that segment of the population didn't seem to care as much. The pro America, pro patriot shit. Like when you bring that to their attention, we destabilize governments and fuck people over for our own interests, and innocent people die and horrible things happen. Like, aren't you a little upset that that gets carried out in your name and funded by your tax dollar? Like, yeah, I don't know. And then you see, it's like, okay, well, what if the CIA and the intelligence agencies locally and all the other, what if they just colluded against you to make you look like a terrorist, to
Right.
to fuck you over, to determine an election in your country? You know what I'm saying? You didn't care if we were picking and choosing the winners in Egypt or anywhere else, but now all of a sudden it's like, yeah, it's fucked up to fuck with people's elections. Is
Right.
it? Is it?
Right. I
That's
mean,
fundamentally wrong all of a sudden.
yeah. Yeah. We've been
So
fucking with
it
people's
is a good
elections
thing.
for a long time.
Yeah, it'll
Yeah,
maybe
as a
make
bit,
people a
we've
little more
perfected
empathetic.
it.
Yeah.
We've perfected it, bro. And
Yeah.
and people will tell you stories about it. It'll be completely above the table topic to talk about how we toppled a quote unquote regime and fucking destabilized it. It's
Listen,
fine.
they have documentaries on it
Right,
that you can watch on
right,
demand.
right. Unbelievable, bro. So much of this shit feels like chickens coming home to roost. So which is why it's so hard to hear cis white males complain that they're being demonized in society. It's just hard to feel bad. It's really hard to feel bad. I don't want anybody to suffer. I don't want anybody to feel like society is against them. That's probably some hard shit to deal with, huh? Like, to think that people are side eyeing you in society just because you're of your race and your gender. That sucks, huh? Kind of sucks, doesn't it? But at the same time, we can't blame people 100% because we know they didn't engineer this system. They haven't necessarily enacted the labor to uphold this system. I don't know how many of these guys would protect some Klansmen or some Nazis, or like, I don't know how they, if they would really help them or donate to their organizations or no shit like that. I don't know that. But when you live in a world where a privilege is afforded to you, it's very hard to expect those people to dismantle that privilege, right? If you go to a state, if you go to fucking Nevada, and people in Nevada happen to think that Latin men are the best men in the world, and all the women in Nevada want to fuck Latin men, are you gonna be like, yo, that's not right? No, you just be like, hey, I'm going to Nevada. That's just what it is. If there was a place where, just no matter what the privilege is, if it's afforded to you, even with stereotypes, who complains about stereotypes that are seen as positive to the people that they're pointing at? Saying black people know how to dance, I don't know who would complain about that.
That's officially something racist, just so you know.
No, it's not. Not for black people.
Absolutely.
What black people are offended by somebody saying they can dance?
Absolutely.
I don't believe it.
Absolutely.
I'd have to
And
talk to them.
and and dancing, because dancing also implies sexual proficiency.
Right. I don't
And
know any
I
black people who complain about that either.
all right, you're gonna have to pull up that clip from Angela Rye.
Oh, she's an asshole though.
What
So
one
I
of
don't,
the still
she's an asshole.
one of the sexiest women on TV. That's fine with me.
That,
She's
yeah.
absolutely she. I don't even know if she's well meaning at this point or it's a grift or whatever it is. But yeah, she went on a pretty righteous tirade against sexualizing black men, like saying black men have big penises. She found incredibly offensive.
Black
she
men are
went.
probably sitting around watching the TV like, shut the fuck up. Shut up. What if she's ruining this shit for us? Because you know why? You can't have both. Because on the other side, they're still saying other people have small penises. And on the other side, they're still saying white people can't dance. Is it racist to say black people know how to cook fried chicken, but it's not racist to say that white people don't season their chicken? How is it a joke on one side, but a travesty on the other side? What are we doing?
Again, you're asking for rational explanations in defense
Right.
of
Yeah, that's
religion.
true. Yeah, that's my
It,
my bad. My bad.
That part. That part.
wo- Wokeism is a religion at this point. It doesn't have to be consistent at all.
That's true.
Doesn't have to have any logic matrix. Doesn't have to be any rational thinking. It just you say that you apply the right rhetoric and you immediately gain the higher moral ground. So because she was in defense against and the way it was framed, it was like, black men were desired, and because of the sexual aspects that were applied to them, that's why they were lynched, and white women would lie on them, and da 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 da. So it was automatically tied into all these other things, not just something as simple as like, I enjoy other people thinking that I have a big dick, even though I might just have a regular sized dick, and that I'm incredible in bed, even though I may just be adequate. But if the lore is going to sell you on the idea that it just makes it that much better of an experience for you, I don't know anyone that would be running out of their way to dispel that,
Right.
for on moral grounds. But
This
yeah, go ahead.
the same way Monique would say that people who lust after supermodel types they've been programmed and
Right.
all of this kind of shit. But they will also go to big girls night at the club where everybody just come there just for big girls. It doesn't make any sense because when it's pointed at you and you like it, when somebody says big women are beautiful, that's awesome. But if you like skinny women, he's been programmed. If you say dark skinned women are beautiful, that's awesome. But if you like light skinned women, you've been programmed by the white man and Eurocentric beauty standards. It's
You,
it's
you,
silly as fuck.
you
You
know
should
what
be
it
able to like
is?
what you like, man. You
Right.
should just be able to like what
Absolutely.
you like.
We've just allowed everybody. What we've done is we've become too caring, too loving, too accepting, and we've gone out of our way to validate everyone's bullshit. And I think it's resulted in something that's not very healthy. And I don't know if it was you or somebody else that pointed out that same thing about Lizzo. Lizzo had like a photo shoot and she's got these, statuesque, muscly dudes around her. Nah, have some fat, flabby, big titty dudes around you.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Have the male equivalent. If you're sexy as fuck like that, why these dudes got to keep going to the gym? Let
Right.
them be sexy in the same way that you're sexy. Otherwise, it exposes your bullshit. But we have to indulge everybody's bullshit. So yes, Lizzo, you're absolutely beautiful. You're in no danger of diabetes or a heart attack. Everything's fine, and you deserve big muscly men on your arm because they should be the ones having to live up to a beauty standard, not you. You're right.
Right.
Absolutely.
It's sad.
Well,
It's
well,
sad, but it's true.
message.
It's sad, but it's true. And I see it so much because I guess a few of the places that I kind of frequent on social media, people have these, especially Twitter, people really have these opinions and they don't expect any pushback on it. And it's crazy to me because you can see the hypocrisy in it from a mile away. But I think the word that they use to excuse themselves from it all is corrective. So historically, people have been attracted to traditional beauty standards. So it's corrective to put somebody else who doesn't really fit into that. So you can have a corrective fetishization or whatever it's called of a certain group of people, and that's fine because you're trying to build them back up to the median of acceptability. But that doesn't go away. Once you have a protected or special class like that, how are you going to get them down off that pedestal?
I don't know, but doesn't that make it even more of a case of why she should have fat, big titty dudes next to her?
Because that would be corrective also, right?
Right.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no, it
Do your
wouldn't.
part.
You know why it wouldn't?
You can't
Because
just be
those
the
guys,
beneficiary of correctiveness.
no,
You
it's
need to.
corrective because those guys wouldn't have liked her under the traditional media sense. So to put them and her there as the object of their attraction is corrective because those guys should love chicks who look like that. You see how they double talk you to the ground? Yeah, they'll wrestle you down with some shit that almost sounds logical, and you're like, wait, hold on, wait, what? What did you just say? I think you're lying. It's body shaming. But let them see, dad talk about the dad bod. That's not body shaming for some reason. I love it. I think you're right. People have been way too soft with accommodating everybody. I think eventually we're just gonna have to get back to saying, "Fuck your opinion. I like what I like."
Or
Yeah,
just
I
troll
like
them.
what I like, man. I just
Just
troll
troll
them.
them. Just have them all go to Z. Z is going to be the new Q, and Z will lead us into a glorious new age by prescribing all of the right thoughts and all of the right actions that need to be taken on going forward.
We just need to find a savior somewhere in there.
This is, the savior should be ideology. Ideology is the new Jesus. The correctly aligned ideology. That way we have no it can't be attacked because I think they fucked up by making Donald Trump their hero. I think that's where they dropped the ball at. When you
Yeah,
got a guy who there's video footage of him talking to a 10-year-old girl in a dressing room of a beauty pageant and he says I might be dating you in a few years, it's going to be hard to get me to understand why he's the savior from elite pedophiles.
right. Facts.
I'm just saying, I just don't get the connection because these other people, we have no evidence that they're doing the shit that you're talking about. We have shit on him, several things where we could show that he's probably a scumbag too, and not the
Yeah.
I
savior.
don't know. There's a lot of back massaging and child sniffing from Joe Biden.
Oh yeah, that's
No,
true.
Facts.
That's
Facts.
true.
Facts. Facts.
nothing where there's, we know he's been with kids, but there's definitely some weird behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
very strange, like you said, back rubbing and child sniffing, and these kids don't look comfortable at all, and any of
At
these kids.
all.
They
So,
look mad uncomfortable. He's
Would you
not
be
getting a hint.
comfortable?
He's
Yeah, would
not
you be
getting a
comfortable?
hint, bro.
Yeah. Crazy.
But that's the guy
Crazy.
though. He's actually, he's Mr. Nice Guy. Just because he sniffs kids doesn't mean, fuck.
so
Man.
how long before we bomb a country? What do you think? What's the betting pool on this?
Did we ever stop?
Yeah, I don't think we're actively bombing anybody right now.
Oh, okay.
Are
That
are
would be
we?
a first.
I don't think so. I could be mistaken.
Okay,
I don't
so
know.
okay,
I
what's
think
the
the
date?
last people we bombed was Syria, where we actually went in and did a bombing, if I'm not mistaken.
I'd say early March.
Oh, and then there was Iran. There was that thing with Iran. I think we took out some Iranian planes, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'd say early March. They'll get a nice
March.
springtime bombing in.
I think we're gonna go and get an invasion. I think we're gonna get some boots on the ground here soon.
Where?
I'm gonna say by June.
Where at though?
Uh,
You think you
I-
said Iran?
it's not, the population isn't going to be majority white. That's as much as I
Oh,
know.
well, yeah.
It's got to be
It's,
a Middle Eastern country,
we got to go check up on them on that gender studies check we sent. Make sure
Pakistan.
they spending it right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that
a money
part.
laundering scheme.
Yo, is that not the best excuse for paying
Listen,
off probably like some kind of kingpin drug dealer or something? Like
I yeah.
you sent that money to Pakistan for gender studies. You know that just went in one guy's bank account, right?
Hey, you know what's crazy to me that nobody batted an eye at that? Like, you know why Pakistan exists, right?
No.
You know the history on that? Okay, so there was an emerging Muslim population in India. So they're from India, but they're basically like, nah, fuck you, we're not, we want our own shit. And so I guess there was so much beef and violence. The only way to calm it down was to have that separate country made for the Muslim population of the Indians that were there. So India and Pakistan is the same exact people, except one is Muslim, of the Muslim faith. So they were such hardcore Muslim fundamentalists, and were killing so many Indians, that India was basically like, look, we'll give you your own country, just chill the fuck out, go over here. So you're telling me they're that religiously zealous and that religious, that level of religious fundamentalism is like, yo, we need 10 million, get our gender studies game up, son. We really need to get our gender study
Gender
game going on.
studies. Gender studies is
You
stupid
believe that?
here.
Nah,
Imagine. It's pretty goofy here.
it's pretty goofy here, but it makes sense. We're
But the
we're
crazy part is that this is money that we give out every year. When they put it on that bill, they just put it on that bill as an end of the year, like the end of the term budget item. We spend money like this every year, spending to other countries for dumb shit like this.
I don't know what the point is of that. Well, I guess okay, not I don't know what the point of it is. I'm just gonna say I don't think it will be applied in the most optimal way that it should be applied in a place like that. You know what I'm
Nope.
saying? Money is not gonna help gender studies in Pakistan.
Actually, not that
That's
much.
yeah, that's not gonna do it. That's not gonna help it. Who are you gonna pay? Who are you paying? You paying some dudes to teach women why they can't go to soccer games and drive cars?
that actually might be the way that it gets carried out now.
That's
That's
what I'm saying.
exactly what
Yeah.
That's so what is that money even for? Like what's the breakdown of how $10 million is going to help gender relations in Pakistan? I'd like to see a itemized list of how you're going to attack this. And I don't and also let me remove the word attack. How you're going to approach this. How you going to
Yeah.
Right.
I'd
You're
love to see it.
no, you're definitely not going in there saying, Khalil wants to be called Karen, and that's just what we're going to do, and this is how we need to address her.
Oh
Yeah,
no, they got a truckload of rocks for him.
yeah, that class is not getting taught in Pakistan.
Good
That's funny.
Lord. But hey, it's American money, right? It comes out of thin air anyway, so who cares?
Yeah, dude.
What are dollars made of other than hope and American arrogance?
Yeah, pretty much.
Nothing. Literally
Uh,
nothing. I promise I got a bunch of people who will consume anything we put in front of them. That's what keeps the dollar
that,
strong.
that's the value, and that's why people who have big followings have value.
Right. And information on these
Hmm.
people and what they're most likely to impulse buy is more valuable than gold right now.
Right.
The shit that Facebook is mining is hundreds of billions of dollars worth of information because they know what's going to piss you off. They know what's going to, if he scrolls by this and it has a cat on it, he's going to buy it. No matter what it is. If it's a coffee mug, a t shirt, a bumper sticker, if it has a kitten on it, he'll buy it. The people who sell kitten swag want to know who that guy is.
Hmm.
Facebook they got the drop on you, son. Whatever it is, they got you. Even the people who don't buy, the people who building ads and shit like that, they're paying to optimize the ads to not be shown to people who don't click and buy.
Yeah, because it's a waste of ad space. They're paying for that ad space. They want to only pay for a person that'll click.
Amazing. Amazing
Crazy.
information. So yeah, the promise of consumption really is a large part of the dollar strength. The
Hmm.
promise of consumption. If you can get that motherfucking product on the shelf, buddy, trust me, somebody takes a bunch of people are gonna buy it.
Yeah, bored people with no real moral animus who just can't wait to spend money on shit they don't need and have disposable incomes. Where we are the absolute greatest market that meets that criteria that the world has ever known, and pretty soon China will be that. They'll have just as much desire for stupid shit, and they'll be just as addicted to it, and they won't really care that they live under a horribly oppressive regime. It won't matter. Just like it doesn't matter to us really now here either. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah,
I can still buy dumb shit, right? Nah, I don't care what's happening then. Whatever. Who
I
cares?
think that's what it is, though. I think it's consumption at the end of the day is what value is right now. Consumption.
Hmm.
Because you think about it, even with music, it used to be about how many people will buy your records. Now it's how many people consume your music on a regular basis. How many streams you got.
Right, right. Yeah, because that's
Consumption is.
different than a one-time buy. Like I bought the CD, I own it now.
Hmm.
There's no expectation of how often you're gonna listen to it.
No, now it's
If
how
you
much you
make it
consume.
right, how often, how long, how many hours a day are you on Spotify? That's a totally different metric.
Yeah.
And you need to be a lot more invasive to figure out who's who than to just be like, yo, it's music. You heard the single, just go buy the CD. It's a
Yeah.
totally different hustle now.
Right.
Wow, dude. It's amazing where we're going, but I gotta think that we're gonna find a positive way to wrap it all up. I feel like it's exactly what we need. And one, regardless of how we look at it and how bad it looks from some of the perspectives, this is just what else is gonna wake people up? What else is gonna shake them out of their sleep?
Well, you put out what you consume, so it's going to take for them to consume different things, which means that it's going to take you know different people like ourselves to create on a more regular basis, and
Facts.
it's just what it is.
Facts. We've been talking a lot about intellectual property in the last few episodes, and I mean, really, it's kind of been a theme the whole time because of the stuff we laugh about, come up with, the ideas we get, and shit like that. And this stuff really does influence people. I think you're not taking it serious enough if you just say, "Oh, I'm gonna make this for fun," or make this movie, make or write this book, or anything like that, because it really does push and pull people depending on how the information hits them and when it hits them, what state they're in when they come across it. All of that shit matters. And if we just sitting here looking at what, like I said, the Beyonce goat ring, we got to do counter spells. We can't just sit here and look at it and be mad. We gotta have an answer to this shit.
Just like that. Just like that.
The goat ring, bro. We gotta have an answer. Don't complain about it if you're not willing to learn magic.
Oh man, I
We all
just see
have
her like Shira right now, standing on the castle of Grayskull.
that's just my favorite shit. I love how uh successful celebrities have to be like demonic. They have to like
Yeah.
it has to be something. There's no way you can just sing and dance really good. It's got to be a supernatural demon
Yeah.
helping you.
There's
Like,
no way that you made really good business decisions and created
No,
brands and
no,
sold them and figured out how to monetize them the best. No way.
no, not
or
at all.
didn't choreograph, didn't spend hours memorizing all the moves, and
Yeah,
yeah,
No, it's the
no,
goat ring.
it's
just the
the goat
goat
ring.
ring, the goat blood. That's it.
Yep,
Right.
the
And if
adrenochrome.
it was that easy, do you know how many people would be that famous?
Yeah,
Like you expect me to believe they all have too much integrity? And like you said, the only reason I'm not rich is because I didn't sell my soul. I'm like, yeah, right.
And she was clearly the most lusted after in Destiny's Child. I mean, it wasn't even close.
And
Everybody,
wrongfully too.
everybody
Wrongfully.
was like, "Ooh," wrongfully based upon the same ideology that would make you mad about pumpkin spice white supremacy, for
Right,
sure.
exactly. Oh,
yeah.
Is Beyonce white supremacy? Holy shit. That's how you get banned
It's
off Twitter right there. I guarantee I get banned off Twitter if I tweeted that right now.
Oh man.
I go viral. They'd be like, "Oh,
uh,
we got to cancel this dude. Make sure he can't have a bank account or use PayPal." He
I
said
don't
some crazy
know.
shit about Beyonce.
She's promoting straight blonde hair. I don't know how it wouldn't be. I don't know
That's
how we
true.
couldn't say it's some form of white supremacy.
That's
If we're
true.
going by the book, okay.
And she also employs slave labor for her brand too, so that's another tick in the right box.
Yeah,
Oh.
but I don't know. I mean, how many people don't though?
Well, that's not
Like
the that's
like
not really the point.
I mean, it doesn't make it okay, but I'm just saying is like that's such a universal okay, that's what we're going to do to get this product to market that I think it's a little harder to make that case, but she chooses what her hair looks like. Like that's 100% within her decision. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you want to get this product to market and you want it to be cost effective, you got to have little children do it against their will. There's no other way, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, her hair could look like how whatever. I mean, unless you think that that is what beautiful hair looks like, and
And
that's
that
a
would be
totally different conversation.
internalized white supremacy.
Maybe, but should we celebrate it because she keeps putting it out there? We shouldn't all be calling on Beyonce to deal with her internalized white supremacy.
Dude, it's her fault. It's her fault. She had every opportunity to push the status quo and change it. Once you become a multi-millionaire, you can change the narrative. You can just rip off the wig and rock an afro. But she chose not to. She chose to stay in league with white supremacists. I mean, what else can we
Yeah.
do? I mean, yeah, she had a choice, and she chose her side. She's basically
Oh,
a Trump supporter at this point.
yeah.
Listen, listen. Z is gonna
Listen.
have a lot of good a lot of
Uh-huh.
good foundational material to put out
Oh
into the
shit.
world. So,
Listen, I'm gonna connect all the dots. We're gonna put it out there.
so
Nah,
we
and then
got
ain't gonna
okay.
call them breadcrumbs. We're gonna call them footprints.
There you go. Okay, so far we have Beyonce as white supremacy.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna crash Reese's Pieces stock.
Hershey's.
Right.
Hershey's is their parent
Hershey's.
company.
Oh,
Let's
Hershey's.
go.
That's even easier. So
And
we're gonna
they're
crash
pretty.
Hershey's.
I think they're like over $100 a share. I mean,
Yeah, we can get that
they're an
down to 40.
established company. I
We
think
can get
so.
that
We can
down to
get it at a
40.
steal.
Yeah, with the right strategic information, we can get that down to 40. And especially with Valentine's Day coming up and Hershey Kisses and all that, yeah, we can wreck them.
Yeah.
And last, but what was the other one? Oh, pumpkin spice.
Pumpkin
Pumpkin
spice.
spice is also white supremacy. So we got three foundational truths that need to find themselves seeded into the 4chans and the 8goons of the world, and let the rest take its course. I'll keep an eye on all the stocks, and we can capitalize on this, and also bring people closer to enlightenment. It's not just monetary, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
monetary.
Oh,
And
wait,
we
wasn't she a model for like L'Oreal or something?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. There you go. Then you have all three. So there is a public outcry to totally destroy pumpkin futures in the commodities market.
Right.
Everyone has to no longer consume pumpkins on any level. No more Hershey's candy, and I guess some boycott of L'Oreal that'll lower there. We got to find out who their parent company is and if it's publicly traded. And yeah, call on Beyonce. That could be the most righteous thing that you could do is get on your Twitter and then hashtag Beyonce so she knows and ask her to end her relationship with L'Oreal and to immediately un-Donald Trumpify her hair so that
Donald
she can
Trump
keep
was
ah,
up.
fine.
there we go.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
otherwise, if your hair is still blonde and straight, then you support the storming of the Capitol. That's how you draw that line in the sand.
Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. So I'm gonna stay tuned for the stock price drops and Beyonce's white supremacy documentary that's gonna be coming out.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see this.
And it's got to be on Lifetime. Gotta be on
This is the second episode where we created a Lifetime movie. By the way, second episode in a row where we created a perfect Lifetime movie. I don't want to repeat the details of the last Lifetime movie because I don't want to push it. We might already be in trouble by the time this airs. But yeah, we got two of them now. I'm proud of us. We do great work.
All right. There
But
we
I'm gonna
go.
get ready to wrap it up, man. It was great talking to everybody. Like I said, I appreciate you making time, brother.
Man,
Yeah,
no
thanks
problem.
for
I
coming
appreciate
on,
y'all's
man.
time, man.
Word, word. So I'm gonna get out of here. I'm starting to fast just to put that out into the universe so I can hold myself accountable and not eat any more chicken fingers tonight. My last meal before the fast was chicken fingers and French fries. I'm not sorry. So so just let that be known. But I'm gonna carry the rest of it out. So y'all keep me in the ether. Pray for power.
Pray for power
Absolutely,
too.
man.
Got you.
Right, man. Y'all enjoy the rest of the night, bro.
All right,
Happy
you
Super
too.
Bowl Sunday.
Oh
Yep.
yeah.
Peace.
Check y'all later.
Peace.
Peace.